Chapter 11:18. Hua Shu looked at Yi Tianyun. He didn't know where Yi Tianyun got his confidence, but he was not surprised. It is good for people to be confident, but you can't be too full of yourself. All the suitable people who came here said that. Ultimately, they still couldn't find the dish I wanted to eat, and even some people wanted to attack me. Hua Shu snorted, "If you attack me, I will give you a very severe punishment. I hope you won't do this kind of thing. If you want to be my master, you must show some ability." Hua Shu did not say the result of those people. He must be very strict. They felt they could not pass, so they tried to see if they could control it. As long as he can suppress a tool spirit, he can become a master by force. Yi Tianyun thought that those people were fools. This is a treasure of a heavenly venerable, how can it be so easy to control? Unless it is a weaker tool spirit, preventing this powerful existence at will is impossible. This is not arrogance, I think I have this ability. Yi Tianyun sat down on the side and began to think about it, to see what was suitable for this taste. Sweet and sour taste. Yi Tianyun closed his eyes and thought. Hua Shu sat on the side, slowly drinking tea, and did not say anything. Anyway, he has enough time, he does not have to worry about insufficient time. Is it that kind of thing? Yi Tianyun opened his eyes, and 2 rays of light shot out from his eyes. Immediately, he quickly got up and looked for spirit medicines nearby. He simply picked out 2 spirit medicines, which didn't take much time. When Hua Shu saw that he had only found 2 spirit medicines nearby, he had already taken them to the table. He was surprised, just 2 spirit medicines. Yes, there are only 2 kinds of spirit medicines. Spirit medicines are not very delicious. And now you have to answer my questions, just these 2 spirit medicines are enough. Yi Tianyun took 2 spirit medicines, not many, just 2 spirit medicines. Hua Shu saw these 2 spirit medicines and said, "It should not be only 2 spirit medicines, but anyway, if it fails, continue to search." Yi Tianyun ignored him, he simply threw the 2 spirit medicines into the air and began to refine them with fire. It was similar to refining pills, but it was not as rough as refining pills. Under Yi Tianyun's careful refinement, the juice from the 2 spirit medicines gradually became thick and began to become solid. At the same time, a sweet and sour taste floated out from the air, completely cooking the essence of the 2 spirit medicines. The sweet and sour taste produced a fragrance that makes people reminisce. Smelling this fragrance, Hua Shu could not help but shout, too similar, really too similar to this fragrance. This is impossible. He didn't believe these 2 ordinary spirit medicines could cook the fragrance he was familiar with. He didn't know how many years he was young, but he could finally smell this fragrance. Yi Tianyun didn't answer. He poured the half-liquid, half-solid substance into the plate a moment later. When the thick liquid slid down, it pulled out a long, thin line that looked crystal clear. Then, Yi Tianyun immediately used netherworld fire. The cold aura made the thick substance cool down quickly, but it looked soft, like syrup, spreading around the plate. "It's done. You can have a taste. This should be the taste you want to eat." Yi Tianyun smiled. Hua Shu could not wait to take the chopsticks. When he put them into the plate, the food immediately stuck to the chopsticks, and under his pull, it was pulled out a long silk strip. When it was put into the mouth to taste, the sour and sweet taste filled the taste buds, and the soft but not diluted sweet taste, like syrup, was beating on the tip of the tongue. "No, I still feel a little bit." Hua Shu shook his head, but his eyes flashed strangely. "Is that so? I still feel a bit, so that I will try this material." Yi Tianyun quickly replaced the other spirit fruit. These are not high-grade spirit fruits. The basic taste is sour and sweet, a bit similar to hawthorn. The range would be greatly reduced when locking on to the corresponding taste, so he did not need too many materials to find the corresponding taste. However, he did not succeed in one go but immediately hit a similar taste, proving his choice was right. Soon, he made it, which could almost be identical to the appearance. Hua Shu could not wait to try and then shook his head. "It's not like this, it's still lacking. Then let's change it to this." Yi Tianyun tried repeatedly. He has more than a dozen similar tastes, so he only needs to try more than a dozen times to show it. Finally, after making it, he gave it to Hua Shu to eat, and his body froze. "Yes, it's this taste, it's been many years since I last ate it, really many years." Hua Shu's eyes turned red instantly, and tears flowed from the corners of his eyes, falling down his cheeks. It was not that this dish was delicious, but it made him recall everything from before. It seems you like master very much, treat him like a father. To preserve this memory, you will imitate him whether it is his appearance or voice. Tianyun picked up the cup of tea and sighed, even this tea, learn to taste and get used to it. But with your current age, you can't get used to it. If you don't like it, you just don't like it. Why force yourself? He reached out and touched the head of the old man, sighing, you should put it down. Memories are beautiful, but you must remember them in your heart. Don't show it. Your master, the reason why he made this, sweet and sour sugar, wants you to be happy. Washu looked at Tianyun in a daze. Tears kept falling down his face. He opened his small mouth, but he couldn't say a word. Tianyun reached out and gently pulled the white eyebrows, beard, and hair on Washu's face. All of these can be easily taken off, replaced by the faint green eyebrows, green hair, and a teenage girl's face. The tool spirit of this treasure looks like a 13 or 14-year-old little girl, young and childish. Those white eyebrows are decorated. This is the real face of the old man. The previous owner was able to make this little snack because the spirit itself was just a child. What it liked was not the bitter taste of tea or the extremely rich taste of meat but the sour and sweet taste, which was the child's favorite taste. Father, Washu man fell into Tianyun's arms, and the black robe draped over his body fell, replaced by a green dress full of youth. Sometimes, the dish is not the taste but the familiar memory. Chapter 11:19. Washu fell into Tianyun's arms and cried, making him sigh in his heart. He knew this tool spirit had lived for a long time, at least thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years, but it had always been like a child. He liked the taste and even more liked the memory. His feelings for the first master were the deepest, and the first master made Washu so that the tool spirit could be born. After Tianyun came in, he judged that Washu was pretending to be an old man from all aspects. After all, it is too small, and the skin is too tender, whether the lips or the eyes, it is not something an old man can have. He believed that the people who came in before should have found this point, but in this space, no one can touch her as long as she does not want to be touched. In this space, she is a god. Judging from the real situation of this dish, it was easy for him to think of this. For this reason, he made this snack. It was sweet and sour, basically, children loved eating it. The tool spirit, who had just gained intelligence, also liked to eat these things. As long as he combined himself, it was not difficult to think of the answer. Coincidentally, there were the materials he wanted here. A person who liked memories so much must have kept the changes around him. The tree vines, tables, and chairs, as well as the surrounding vegetation, were carefully preserved. He believed that Washu did not know what it was made of. The tool spirit was always the tool spirit. You are not father. Suddenly, Washu jumped out of Tianyun's arms and glared at Tianyun with red eyes. Tianyun said helplessly, of course, I am not your father, I am your second master. He was not Washu's father, but Washu just felt something and directly rushed to vent. Washu said, I haven't admitted that you are my new master yet. She wiped away the tears and seemed to have recovered a lot. Tianyun smiled, you just need to make a dish you are satisfied with. Are you not satisfied with this dish? If you are not satisfied, I can make a variety of flavors for you to eat, but the taste is different from your original taste. After silence, he turned around and suddenly smiled, then tell me, why can you see what I like to eat? Tianyun smiled, it can be judged by age. The younger the child, the more he likes the taste of this side. He can try it several times even if he can't judge it for now. As long as he is careful, it is not difficult to find it. After hearing this, she was unhappy. She pouted and said unhappily, I have lived for tens of thousands of years, and you call me a child. In front of me, you are a child. Tianyun said, well, you old monster. Washu didn't bother with this question and smiled again. There are so many suitable people, but they can't do it. You can do it as soon as you come in. They have been looking for a long time but can't find the right one. You just found it by the side. Do you think they are fools? If the previous cultivators knew about it, they would be angry and return to life. Who would have thought that the relatively ordinary spirit medicines and spirit fruits around them were the main focus of the problem? The simpler things were, the more difficult it would become after being mixed up by themselves. This was all a problem of the mentality. They all thought that Washu would give very difficult questions. The dishes that were said were all very difficult and delicious. Who knew that it was just snacks that ordinary children often ate? It was just that Hua Shu's description was unclear, and they did not know what it was, so they could not guess it even if they racked their brains. You are not a fool. It is just that your description is unclear. If you were to say it clearly, you would have got it already. Yi Tianyun smiled. If you know the materials, any cultivator can make it. Although he is not a chef, he can still make it if he has good control. Hua Shu's eyes, like green gems, turned and smiled. Well, you are qualified. You are very capable. You have made dishes that I am satisfied with and have the qualification to be my master. Yi Tianyun finally breathed a sigh of relief. Whether he can pass the test and complete one of the tests of the Heavenly Venerable Road, he still has to see her golden mouth. Now that she said there was no problem, he finally passed. Soon after, a light enveloped him, proving she had begun to recognize the master. In a moment, it was easy to recognize the master. Originally, it was not difficult to identify the master. It only took a few seconds. The hard part is whether the tool spirit will acknowledge the master. Master. After recognizing the master, Hua Shu's attitude immediately became more respectful. Hua Shu, this name sounds weird. Do you have any other name? Yi Tianyun asked. No. Hua Shu shook his head. You are a girl. This name is unsuitable. How about I give you another name? How about it? Yi Tianyun said. Good. Good. I also think this name is too cliché. What name does master give me? The eyes of the decay lit up. She also felt that this name was a bit ugly. Then let's call it Kwikwi. How about it? Yi Tianyun simply thought of a name. Kwikwi. Kwikwi seems to be okay. Kwikwi seriously thought for a moment, then clapped her hands and smiled. Then let's call you Kwikwi. It's very nice, much better than Hua Shu. Now that I have become your master, can you tell me why they did this? Yi Tianyun asked. Kwikwi thought for a moment and said, this is very simple. You go to the finish line and complete the final test. You will know what the father is thinking. He left something on it, but we don't know what it is. Only after you pass it will you know what it is. You don't know. Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, your previous master is not responsible enough. He told you nothing and let you see the right person to recognize him as your master. Isn't it a bit too hasty? Especially if you don't pass in the end, will you still be taken away? We don't know about this. It is the father's order. We can only fulfill it. Kwikwi shook her head and shook her head, not knowing what it meant. Well, I will know what is going on when I go there myself. Yi Tianyun can only check it himself and know what is going on. However, he believes that the Heavenly Venerable Senior has his reasons for doing this. Chapter 11:20. With Kwikwi's help, he quickly returned from this space. When he returned to his body, he felt everything was so beautiful. At this time, a special jade bracelet appeared in his hand. Without a doubt, this was Kwikwi's true body. This treasure was called the Decaying Jade Bracelet. It was a very simple name. Although it was a middle-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure, for a Heavenly Dao level character, using a middle-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure would be a loss of status. However, these treasures all had tool spirit, so the meaning differed. The tool spirit could be slowly cultivated. After cultivating it, there would be a certain chance of advancing. Put it bluntly, Kwikwi could become a high-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure. However, it takes a long time to raise the level. Generally speaking, it is very precious. A middle-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure with a tool spirit is better than a high-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure without a tool spirit. This means that after upgrading to a high-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure, the effect will far exceed that of a high-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure without a tool spirit. Of course, for him, the most valuable thing is the effect. The effect is very good. It can improve the grade of spirit medicine or help recover withered spirit medicine. This effect is undoubtedly the most valuable. Have you not passed yet? Yi Tianyun looked up and found that God Monarch Yukin was still testing. This time, he was a bit faster than God Monarch Yukin. It could only be said that he just guessed it. Otherwise, if it were someone else, they would probably fail. Immediately, he walked towards the finish line, wanting to understand the real meaning of this Heavenly Venerable. Many things are not casually built, and they must have meaning. What is the situation of heaven-stealing divine land? As long as you walk this road, everything will be clear. When he walked, the cultivators behind him all exclaimed. They did not expect Yi Tianyun to have passed the test and began to walk towards the finish line. He is faster than Heaven Monarch Lu Yun. He is faster than Heaven Monarch Lu Yun. Too fast. I feel that he can easily break the second last stage in just a few days. So he has a chance to reach the end. God, a human reaching the top, this is something that has never happened before. They were all shocked. They thought that Tianyun would fall behind God Monarch Yukin, but now it seems he is even faster than God Monarch Yukin. Junior brother Tianyun is amazing. He broke it so quickly. Look at that Heaven Monarch Xianxia, he hasn't even woken up yet. This is truly a sin. Heaven Monarch Yu Hua's poisonous tongue came out again, and he couldn't help but mock Heaven Monarch Xianxia. That is his own business. It looks like our Heavenly Spring God territory is going to change. Heaven Monarch Ziguan shook his head and said, although it is not the first one to reach the top, a human has reached the end. It will explode if passed back. Elder Go Huang sent Tianyun here purely to let him cultivate, and he can even reach the end of the Heavenly Venerable Road. This was absolutely beyond his expectations, and it could even be said that he never thought about it. How is it possible to finish the Heavenly Venerable Road in a few months? However, Tianyun often turned the impossible into an absolute possibility. Moreover, he still has a lot of time, and the 2 jade pendants he plundered can make him stay longer. He walked forward bit by bit. This time, his speed was not fast. It was not that he did not want to walk fast, but he felt that the more he stepped forward, the more amazing the pressure was. Feeling the pressure of the Heavenly Venerable, he began to pressure this way, making it slightly difficult for him to move forward. Every step he took felt like walking on a mountain, more like someone was patting him down. The pressure of this Heavenly Venerable is amazing, probably only a small part. Tianyun felt this pressure and thought Heavenly Venerable's power was strong. This world is really powerful. I thought I could stand at the peak, but there was a higher mountain behind me, waiting for him to climb. I didn't expect you to be faster than me. God Monarch Yukin's voice came from behind. Tianyun turned and saw a jade bracelet in God Monarch Yukin's hand. This Heavenly Venerable seems to like to make jewelry, otherwise, it would not be made again. Just a little bit faster than you. Tianyun shrugged. God Monarch Yukin was extremely dissatisfied, just a little bit faster. It's my second time here, and it was the same test. I didn't expect you to be faster than me. She felt incredible. She thought she was fast enough, but she didn't expect Tianyun to be faster than her. It just so happens that my luck is good. I chose a relatively simple test, and I passed it easily. Tianyun shrugged. He was too lazy to explain more to her. How can it be simple? I am very suspicious of you now. Is it the reincarnation of some mighty figure? Although I can't feel the aura, it is still very likely. After all, the aura can be hidden. God Monarch Yukin felt that Tianyun must be the reincarnation of a mighty figure, otherwise, how could he pass so easily? You say it is. Tianyun simply admitted it and walked forward. You bastard. God Monarch Yukin clenched her teeth and followed Tianyun. Her speed was not fast. Just like Tianyun, she also withstood the pressure of the Heavenly Venerable. When they saw them continue to climb up, they all looked envious. It seems that 2 people will soon reach the top. They are far away. There is still a long way to go to the foot of the mountain. The 2 of them walked up step by step. This time, they were not affected by any illusion. They just felt the pressure of the Heavenly Venerable. Tianyun does not know what this means. He only needs to know one thing. The higher he climbed, the more experience he absorbed. If this continues, he can meet the experience of upgrading. Although the conditions for breaking through to the 10 refinements Earth Monarch are not enough, he must first meet the experiences and then experience others. After the experience is satisfied, things will be easier later. The last part of the road is not far, only the next 1 mile, but they go up step by step. It is very difficult to go, but even after a long time, they can take a step forward. Originally, Tianyun did not spend much time on the road ahead, but he spent more time here. Sometimes, walking 100 meters would take several days, far more than the time he used before. However, as time passed, Tianyun felt that under this pressure, his body began to be stained with a special energy, and then it seeped into his body, strengthening it. This is the power of Heavenly Venerable. After Tianyun carefully sensed it, he found that the energy transmitted was not ordinary energy but the power of Heavenly Venerable. Chapter 11:21. The power of a Heavenly Venerable began to pass through their bodies and pour into them. This feeling reminded him of the Slaughter God Tower from long ago. It was to pour their energy into their bodies and then take over their bodies. However, Tianyun felt that the 2 were not the same. This power of a heavenly venerable was not evil energy but a kind of good energy that let them comprehend this energy. If they do not comprehend it, the final result is that it will dissipate. After all, this power of a heavenly venerable does not belong to them. At their current stage, they cannot store it in their bodies forever. They can only feel it now, at most, strengthen their body a little, the other basic effects are not much. This is my father's aura. It's so familiar, Quiqui's voice entered his mind. As a tool spirit, it was naturally possible to communicate with him. Yes, your father probably wants us to feel the power of this heavenly venerable so that we can comprehend something from it. Tianyun closed his eyes and walked forward step by step, more carefully trying to comprehend the power of this heavenly venerable. As a heavenly venerable, she naturally knows the value of this energy. If she carefully comprehends it, she can make a breakthrough. She came here to break through. Not every heavenly venerable is as generous as this heavenly venerable, able to let them comprehend their energy at will. Soon, Tianyun finds that he can't continue to move forward, but he is stuck in front of him like an invisible wall, blocking him from moving forward. This is a restriction. Tianyun looked up and down at the invisible wall and reached out to hit it. It felt so hard that it was difficult to take a step forward. God Monarch Yukin, who followed him, also felt this invisible wall, making her feel strange. Why is there a restriction? Tianyun felt very puzzled. The end point was just 100 meters away, but now there is a restriction. Master, you can't pass without comprehending Daddy's energy. Quiqui's voice came. Tianyun was stunned. He only knew what the meaning was now. If he wanted to pass through this place, he needed to comprehend the power of a heavenly venerable before he could pass through this restriction. Comprehending the power of a heavenly venerable is like grasping a key, otherwise, it is impossible to pass through here. If you want to pass through here, you need to comprehend this power to pass through successfully, so you must comprehend it well. God Monarch Yukin reminded him. Tianyun turned his head to look. God Monarch Yukin was very kind. He reminded himself several times. Although he already knew, it was still good to remind the other party. Thank you for the reminder. Tianyun thanked him. I have already reminded you, why are you still not repaying me? Tell me about your situation. God Monarch Yukin still chased after Tianyun, wanting to know how he passed so easily. Tianyun's head is about to explode. This God Monarch Yukin is persistent, asking repeatedly. Didn't I say it just happens that I am lucky and can pass the test? Otherwise, I will be stuck there. Tianyun reached out, patted the jade bracelet in his hand, and said, Quiqui, tell her, is it like this? Then Quiqui revealed a mini body and landed on Tianyun's shoulder. She looked at God Monarch Yukin and curled her lips. Yes, he accidentally bumped into it and then solved it. God Monarch Yukin looked at the tool spirit on Tianyun's shoulder and said with dissatisfaction, I thought your tool spirit didn't have a tool spirit, but it turns out that it has a tool spirit, and I even reminded you. She has believed most of it, and the tool spirit won't lie. The treasure of a heavenly venerable is not simple. Isn't it normal to have a tool spirit? Tianyun rolled his eyes at her. Now you finally believe it, right? You can solve it by accident. I don't know how to explain it. God Monarch Yukin reached out and patted his head. Solving this puzzle took him 2 lifetimes. Tianyun also solved it by accident. It has to be said that luck is a big factor. I don't know how to say it. Don't say it. Now be honest and break it. You must consume the jade pendant here. Tianyun said, we have to continue to consume the jade pendant here, just like before. Unless we enter a special test, we still have to drink the jade pendant. My jade pendant can last for 5 months. There is no need to worry. God Monarch Yukin said, I just don't know if you can hold on. If you can't hold on, go down and kill a few cultivators, and then rob the jade pendant. Tianyun took a deep breath. This guy was simple and crude, and his advice was accurate, but it was too much. If he does this, she cannot establish herself in Heavenly Spring God territory. God Monarch Yukin is not afraid. She is originally a 3rd-grade God territory, and the pursuit of a 2nd-grade God territory is nothing. Forget it, I should be enough. Tianyun didn't say much to her. He sat down and meditated to comprehend the power of the Heavenly Venerable. He began to extract the power of the Heavenly Venerable bit by bit and read the corresponding information from the power of the Heavenly Venerable. God Monarch Yukin also sat down to comprehend the power of the Heavenly Venerable. It was not difficult for them to understand it. They only needed a little more time to learn it. When Tianyun comprehended it, he immediately fell into it and felt wandering in the power of the Heavenly Venerable. The time it was passed, day by day. Many people had time, so they could only choose to leave. The next time they accumulated enough contribution points, they could come over and reluctantly leave. If he doesn't leave, he will only die. Heaven Monarch Xianxia woke up, but the situation of the Jade Pendant had already arrived. When he saw Yi Tianyun and God Monarch Yukin sitting at the peak, his face turned ugly. He did not expect that Yi Tianyun had already left him far behind when he woke up. It will take a long time for him to catch up. You brat, just you wait. Heaven Monarch Xianxia looked at Yi Tianyun fiercely, then turned and flew away. In the blink of an eye, more than a month, he was past. Yi Tianyun slowly opened his eyes, and a golden light shot out from his eyes as if he could see through everything. I finally comprehended it. Yi Tianyun stood up and stepped forward, easily passing through the restriction and stepping into the last area. The cultivators watching from below were stunned. They did not expect him to be faster than God Monarch Yukin. Chapter 11:22. Yi Tianyun is faster than God Monarch Yukin. This has already happened once before. He didn't expect to continue to lead this time, and everyone was shocked. Nobody expected him to surpass God Monarch Yukin repeatedly. They thought that God Monarch Yukin would be able to suppress this human's arrogance when he came here, but now it seems that they are naive. Yi Tianyun can still take a step ahead of them, moving forward faster. He can be so quick, naturally, thanks to the investigating eye, but the data is too huge and difficult to analyze. This made him spend a whole month analyzing the power of the Heavenly Venerable. After thorough analysis, he began to mobilize the power of Heavenly Venerable here. Although it is only small, it has given him the qualification to control the power of Heavenly Venerable. He doesn't know why he did this, but to be able to control Heavenly Venerable's power in advance is equivalent to taking a small step into the Heavenly Venerable realm. At least he has the qualification to prevent it. As for God Monarch Yukin, she is still struggling to comprehend. Not that her comprehension is too weak, but Yi Tianyun's probing eye is too strong, it is simply cheating. If Yi Tianyun upgrades his probing eye, he will be able to strengthen his probing eye greatly. After all, his probing eye has now evolved to the point of analyzing all kinds of medicinal pills and all kinds of martial arts, and he can easily analyze them. This is equal to those geniuses. Just a few moves with the opponent can secretly teach the opponent's moves, and Yi Tianyun is a little worse than their talent. If he continues to level up, he will be stronger than them. Of course, the investigating eye will crush some geniuses in all aspects. Master, you are too powerful. How did you comprehend Father's power so quickly? Quiqui was shocked when she saw Yi Tianyun pass through so quickly. She knows how powerful the previous master is. It is unprecedented to comprehend it so quickly. Is it very powerful? No one was able to comprehend it before. Yi Tianyun asked. No, it will take at least several years. You are much faster than them. Quiqui sighed. A few years. Yi Tianyun shook his head. He would have to come a few more times if it was several years. However, they are already at this stage. They will give more opportunities to come and comprehend God's territory. Immediately, he did not wait for God Monarch Yukin. He walked to the finish line. With everyone's attention, he easily stepped into the final stage. When he had the last step and was about to step into the highest peak, he directly disappeared in place and was teleported away. When he reacted, he found himself in a special space. There was a unique courtyard in front of him, which looked delicate and beautiful. Trial Challenger, come in. The voice came from the courtyard. Its father's voice. Quiqui suddenly rushed out and rushed into the courtyard, not listening to Yi Tianyun's orders. She must listen to Yi Tianyun's orders, but she has her consciousness and can do some things. If Yi Tianyun asks her to come back, she must come back. When he went in, he saw an old man sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea slowly, as if he had been waiting for him for a long time. Yi Tianyun looked at him. This appearance is similar to the old man Quiqui played before, but this old man looked deeper. Those eyes, like a black hole, can suck him in. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's divine sense is not physical, it has the power of a god monarch, belongs to the master of this space, and can control all life here. The investigating eye showed the information of the other party. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, indeed a Heavenly Venerable, but a trace of divine sense is here. This is not unexpected. The true body of a Heavenly Venerable cannot appear here. Yi Tianyun asked politely, what is your name, senior? The expert who created this heaven-stealing divine land must be peerless. He knew the other party's name but still had to ask politely. It was impossible to wait for the other party to say his name. Just call me Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han stroked Quiqui's little head and smiled. You can pass Quiqui's test, proving your ability is extraordinary. Why are you still standing there? Come and sit down. Quiqui stayed beside Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, serving him tea and water. After Yi Tianyun sat down, the tables and chairs looked very ordinary, but when he sat down, he immediately felt very relaxed and wanted to sit there all the time, not wanting to leave. Senior, I don't know your intention, let us go this Heavenly Venerable road. I don't think it is simply giving us benefits, right? Yi Tianyun smiled, this heaven-stealing divine land isn't a simple place. You will need these jade pendants to enter if you want to enter. What is the true purpose of your establishment here? He asked all of his doubts. He wanted to know what Heavenly Venerable Hao Han wanted to do. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled at him and said, it's very simple. It is to recruit disciples. Other than that, there is no other meaning. He answered frankly, not hiding anything. Recruit disciples, but didn't you announce it to the outside world? Yi Tianyun did not expect that after spending so much time and effort, he would recruit disciples, give treasures, and give such a difficult environment, he must be recruiting disciples. The problem is that the people outside do not know, they think this is a good cultivation place. There is no need to publicize anything. I have always been waiting for fated people. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han laughed, those who can climb to the peak are fated people. Senior, aren't there 8 cultivators outside who have successfully passed? Is this not enough? The 8 names carved on the outside were all cultivators who had ascended to the peak. No, they are not real disciples, they are just nominal disciples. If you want to be my disciple, you must break through to the Heavenly Venerable level before becoming my disciple. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. Become a Heavenly Venerable level. Yi Tianyun was speechless. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han himself is at the Heavenly Venerable level, so why would he want a disciple to become at the Heavenly Venerable level? Isn't this a big loss? He has become a Heavenly Venerable level, he should be qualified to be on equal footing. Do you think I am a Heavenly Venerable and my disciple is a Heavenly Venerable? What else can I teach you? Heavenly Venerable Hao Han seemed to see through Yi Tianyun's thoughts and said with a smile, even a Heavenly Venerable is divided into 3 major realms. Those who have broken through to the Heavenly Venerable realm have just entered the threshold. It is still far from reaching my level. Yi Tianyun frowned. It seemed that things were not simple. Chapter 11:23. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's words are still a bit exciting. Heavenly Venerable is also divided into 3 major realms. Isn't Heavenly Venerable the same as other levels, divided into 10 levels? Yi Tianyun did not ask much, but this standard for becoming a disciple is terrifying. He is only an Earth Monarch now, and it will take a long time for him to break through to Heavenly Venerable. After all, he needs a lot of experience, especially now that there is a condition limit, and it is not easy to break through. Unless he breaks through to Heavenly Venerable now, there is no value if he really does this. Young man, don't be discouraged. You are still young, and your cultivation has broken through to the 9 refinements Earth Monarch level. It can be said that your future is boundless. No wonder you can comprehend the power of the Heavenly Venerable so quickly. It is not strange that you can comprehend it with such a good talent. I have seen a lot of 9 refinements Earth Monarchs, but I have never seen anyone who can comprehend them so quickly. Some geniuses will have a unique talent when they comprehend some power. You may be one of them. It was not surprising that Heavenly Venerable Hao Han saw through Yi Tianyun's cultivation at first glance, but his judgment made some mistakes. Thank you for your praise, Senior Hao. Yi Tianyun thought momentarily, then asked, that's right, Senior Hao, there is something I wonder if I can ask you. If there is anything you don't understand, feel free to ask. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said, although it is just spiritual will, I still have some memories left behind here. Divine sense is always divine sense, it will not update any memory information, and at the same time, it will not be connected to the main body. I wonder if there is a saying about 10 refinement Earth Monarch. Yi Tianyun asked, 10 refinement Earth Monarch. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han was stunned. He immediately shook his head and said, I have never heard of it, at most 9 refinement Earth Monarch cultivation, where did 10 refinement Earth Monarch come from? Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said very firmly. Yi Tianyun did not ask more, he just wanted to ask these seniors if they had heard of it. The mind seems to have been fixed, it is impossible to change it. Well, I don't know, Senior How, is it simple to let me come in to talk about the recruitment of disciples? Yi Tianyun pulled back the topic, his purpose of coming in was naturally this. Of course, not only this, if you want to have my treasure completely and become my registered disciple, you still need to pass the last stage. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han narrowed his eyes, looked in the distance, and smiled, looks like guests are coming again. I have never seen two people coming in simultaneously for so long. Soon after, a figure appeared in front of him. It was God Monarch Yukin. It seemed that God Monarch Yukin had comprehended it, and his speed was only slightly slower than his. After God Monarch Yukin came in and saw Yi Tianyun, she was shocked. I thought you left, but I didn't expect you to come in successfully. You are faster than me again. God Monarch Yukin's eyes were full of resentment. Yi Tianyun was like her heart demon, constantly surpassing her, pressing her down, and unable to surpass her. She wanted to go crazy, reborn as a reincarnated expert, but was always suppressed, making her vomit blood. She suspected this world had changed. How could there be so many geniuses? Fortunately, there is only one Yi Tianyun, otherwise, she will go crazy. Cough cough, a little bit faster. When Yi Tianyun heard her voice full of resentment, he felt a bit embarrassed. Father. At this time, a little girl rushed out of her bracelet. She threw himself into the arms of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, just like Kwikwi, who was extremely close to Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Be good, Heavenly Venerable Hao Han chuckled as he rubbed the little girl's head. When God Monarch Yukin saw Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, she said respectfully, Junior Yukin greets Senior. She was still aware of the general situation. Seeing that there was a senior here, she would not say anything else. What a good little girl. She is a God Monarch reincarnation. The higher your cultivation level is, the lower the success rate for you to reincarnate with your memories. You have successfully reincarnated as a God Monarch. It is a narrow escape from death. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han saw through God Monarch Yukin's situation with a single glance. The higher one's cultivation level was, the more difficult the success rate of reincarnation would be. This was defying the heavens. God Monarchs were already strong enough, yet they still had to reincarnate with such terrifying strength. Wasn't this defying the sky? Many people died there, but God Monarch Yukin succeeded. It could only be said that his luck was truly astonishing. Just as Heavenly Venerable Hao Han had said, she was still successful despite the difficulty of 9 deaths. This junior has indeed paid a price to be able to reincarnate successfully. There are more external forces, God Monarch Yukin said. Regardless of what it is, to be able to reincarnate successfully, your abilities are truly extraordinary. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han looked at them and said, it's a kind of fate that the two of you can come in together. To let you comprehend the power of a Heavenly Venerable is a way to pave the way for you. Even if you can't be my in-name disciple, at least it will help you a little in the future. Yi Tianyun nodded. Even if he succeeded in coming here, he might not be able to become his in-name disciple. The requirements of a Heavenly Venerable were not limited to walking the Heavenly Venerable Road. You can pass the Heavenly Venerable Road, which means you have a good temperament. However, the final test will still test your temperament. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said, I am very focused on the heart, which is the Tao heart. If the Tao heart is unstable, then no talent is useful. Therefore, Heavenly Venerable Road does not restrict any cultivation. The higher the cultivation, the easier it is to walk. Only those who have a stable Tao heart can successfully reach it. Yi Tianyun and God Monarch Yukin's Tao hearts are very stable, not reckless, and not exaggerated. Naturally, every step is so stable. I didn't expect that the last stage would still test the heart. I thought Heavenly Venerable Road was long enough, but it finally came again. As long as you pass the last test, you will be qualified to be my in-name disciples. You can contact me when you break through to the Heavenly Venerable realm. At that time, I will take you back to my sect. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled faintly. Of course, this is a very long thing for you. There are thousands of worlds. I have arranged so many heaven-stealing divine lands. So far, only one palm can become my disciple. Senior Hao, you mean more than one heaven is stealing divine land? Yi Tianyun quickly caught the word. That's right, more than one heaven is stealing divine land. They are distributed in different regions. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled and said, heaven stealing divine land is a good treasure I have refined. It can absorb all the energy in the surroundings and fuse. However, you will be devoured if you can't resist the suction force. You can move freely here if you can resist the suction force. Yi Tianyun nodded. He wanted to try this, but there were some dangers, so he didn't dare to try. Chapter 11:24. From Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's words, it was clear that he had set up many places. However, in the past 1,000 years, no more than a handful of people could become his disciples. It seemed that this was extremely difficult. How easy was it to become a Heavenly Venerable? If it were so easy to break through, the entire street would have already become a Heavenly Venerable. I created so many heaven-stealing divine lands to create an excellent trial environment. At the same time, it was to nurture these children. He reached out and rubbed Kwikwi and the others' heads, eyes full of benevolence. It's just that very few cultivators here can resist it. This is related to your abilities. It is not that simple to resist this suction force. When you can resist this suction force one day, this will be your cultivation holy land. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. This cultivation environment is enough for you to cultivate to the peak of the Heavenly Venerable realm. Of course, I do not recommend staying here to cultivate. It is more important to use actual combat. Let's not talk too much. Are you both prepared to experience the final test of your Tao heart? Heavenly Venerable Hao Han asked. He didn't explain too much. Moreover, he had explained everything more or less. The heaven-stealing divine land was used to recruit disciples, and it was also used to nurture these treasures. With so many treasures here, if they weren't nurtured, there was no way these tool spirits could grow up. Ready. They all nodded. Since there was nothing to prepare for now, they could just directly start. If you are ready, then you can start now. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han stretched out his hand and gently tapped on their heads. At the same time, he slowly said, I do not know the content of your tests. This is completely a test that touches the deepest part of your heart. If you pass, you can become my unnamed disciple. If you fail, it can only be said that there is no fate. The meaning of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han is self-explanatory. That is, there is only one chance. If it fails, it can only be said that there is no fate, and there is no second chance to try. Senior Hao, how do you become a success? Yi Tianyun asked. Success is to wake up. Failure is to let me help you wake up. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han explained, all of you only have a month. Any longer than a month will be considered a failure. Thus, all of you should wake up as soon as possible and not continue to sink into depravity. Understood. Immediately after, they felt a beam of light pierce through their bodies and fall into a vortex. They felt as if everything was so illusory. Shoo, a handsome young man waved his spear continuously. The snowflakes that fell from the sky were continuously pierced by his spear, turning into even more snowflakes that fell. His body was sturdy. Whether it was his talent or his blood energy, they were all vibrant and surging. He was an outstanding figure amongst his peers. Young master, you are cultivating again. At this time, Xiaolian came in from outside. When she saw Yi Tianyun's strong muscles, her face was slightly red and a bit shy. Yes, I just finished cultivating. Yi Tianyun took back his spear and circulated his spirit energy to evaporate the sweat on his body. Everything returned to normal. There are other sects outside. They want to fight with you. Do you want to challenge me? No problem, I will go out now. Yi Tianyun followed Xiaolian out. There was already a sea of people outside. Many female disciples of Jade Palace looked at him with eyes full of worship and even more passion. Tianyun, you are here. Shi Shuiyan came over, as cold as always and even more beautiful. Aunt, I am here. Yi Tianyun smiled. Leave them to me, they can be solved easily. Like before, beat up these sects who came to make trouble. Aunt believes in you. Shi Shuiyan smiled. Boy, this time, we brought people to challenge you. If we lose this time, this Earth-level martial art will belong to you. If you lose, you have to hand over the Earth-level martial art and the martial art that we lost before. At this time, the elders of other sects stood up and looked at Yi Tianyun angrily. It was not the first time that they lost. No problem, the premise is that you can beat me. Yi Tianyun held his spear and flew to the arena. His cold eyes swept over everyone, making many people not dare to look at him. Don't be arrogant, let me meet you. At this time, someone flew up from the audience. His cultivation was not weaker than that of Yi Tianyun, who was holding a giant axe. The sharp axe blade was enough to cut everything. As he stepped on the stage, this person did not wait for Yi Tianyun to reply. He already swept his axe over, wanting to cut him in half. The overbearing momentum made everyone under the stage can't help but take a few steps back, not daring to get too close to the arena. Yi Tianyun's eyes focused, the long spear in his hand turned into a cold light and pierced forward, followed by a heavy hit on the giant axe. When the spearhead met the axe blade, the whole spear bent slightly, but the spear deflected the other side's attack. Yi Tianyun easily deflected such an unjust attack. He swung his spear again, bent into a half-moon, and hit the opponent heavily. Bang! The opponent was directly sent flying by the spear, vomiting blood in midair. When he fell, he was quickly hugged by the other party's elder. The considerable impact still made the elder take a few steps back, almost unable to stand steadily. Next, Yi Tianyun swung his spear, and his momentum was imposing. Young master won again. Young master won again. Young master, young master, young master. Young master, young master, young master. The blood below boiled and shouted, thinking that Yi Tianyun was a king of victory. No matter who it is, they can be easily defeated. Yi Tianyun suddenly felt a great sense of accomplishment. This was the feeling he wanted. Being admired by thousands of people, everything was so smooth. No one could compare to him. Nothing could disobey his idea. This battle soon came to an end. Yi Tianyun quickly challenged the entire sect and won this shocking battle. Everything went so smoothly. There were no obstacles, no dangers. It was just so peaceful. Soon after, Jade Palace began to expand its influence. It quickly rose to the third rank. It followed the fourth great empire to dominate the world. Yi Tianyun became a great emperor at a young age. He has countless beauties and countless subordinates. He listened to his call. No one dared to obey him. Everything went too smoothly. It was so smooth that he was deeply trapped in it. When they wanted to continue to attack more forces, Yi Tianyun suddenly froze. Looking at the troops around him, he felt that he was missing something. Chapter 11:25. Yi Tianyun always felt that he was missing something. He couldn't remember anything. He felt as if he had forgotten something. His mind was blank. Heavenly Emperor, what are you thinking about? A beautiful woman next to him wrapped her arms around him. There were several beautiful women on the side, sprinkling petals on him. Countless petals fell into the water, making the pool smell so fragrant. Countless beautiful women, with one hand holding a powerful force, everything was smooth. No matter which force they attacked, the other side quickly surrendered. Along the way, there were countless opportunities. He found many treasures in martial arts, making his cultivation rise considerably. But it was so smooth that he doubted, was this himself? I seem to have forgotten something. Yi Tianyun frowned. Don't overthink. Leave these things to the subordinates to do. Emperor, you have worked hard for so long, it is time to enjoy it. Yes, your subordinates are all capable people, you don't need to worry about anything. No matter what, they can easily help you solve it. Yes, Empress Xuan is about to give birth, you should spend more time with her. The beautiful women who served him persuaded him not to overthink, and all kinds of delicious food was stuffed into his mouth, enjoying all types of treatment. Yi Tianyun frowned and felt that something was wrong. He pushed them away and said, "No, I am not like this. I have experienced so many life and death situations along the way, so many obstacles, how can it be so smooth? These are my precious experiences, all the experiences of my firm Tao heart, how can I say no? This is not my world, and I don't want to stay here." Yi Tianyun's power burst out, scattering all the surrounding pools. He directly rushed out of the palace hall and flew outside. Outside was a luxurious palace. The ordinary people were very comfortable, and everything was perfect. However, it was precisely so perfect that there would be a huge problem. Perfect everywhere meant that there were problems everywhere. It could not be denied that this place was perfect. It was so perfect everywhere. It was the world he had always imagined. There were no disputes or struggles. There had never been any tragedies from the very beginning. However, all of this was just an illusion. What he had experienced could not be erased. All of this was his precious experience. Without these experiences, how could he have such a firm Tao heart? Many things could not be given to him by the system. After experiencing such life and death and so many dangers, it was proof that he existed and that he was still alive. Heavenly Emperor, what's wrong? A group of people flew over and saw Yi Tianyun rushing out. They were shocked and didn't know what happened. This included Shi Xuan, who flew over with a big belly and looked at him in a daze. Tianyun, what's wrong? Shi Xuan flew over and asked. It's okay. Yi Tianyun reached out and stroked her hair, smiled, and said, "No matter when, you are still so beautiful." Xuan blushed and said with embarrassment, "Stop it, so many people are watching, what are you talking about?" Everything was so real, no different from reality. He gently stroked Xuan's stomach and smiled, "It's a pity that I can't see the child's birth again." He glanced around and smiled, "Thank you for your company. Goodbye." Xuan grabbed him and said hurriedly, "Tianyun, where are you going? Leave here, leave this imaginary world. Although you are an imaginary world, I still thank you for giving me a beautiful dream. I haven't had such a beautiful dream for a long time, thank you." Tianyun gently shook off Xuan's hand, stepped into the void, and turned into a meteor piercing the world, leaving a group of stunned cultivators. Finally, this meteor slammed into the air, and the whole world turned into countless pieces. Such a wonderful world was utterly gone, turned into numerous pieces, and followed these pieces wholly into powder, disappearing from this world forever. At the same time, he suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a firm look. At this time, what appeared in front of him was Quiqui's cute little face, directly staring at him. "Great, I knew Master would wake up. Father." Quiqui guessed right. Quiqui threw herself into Tianyun's arms and said happily, "I didn't guess wrong, I didn't guess wrong." Tianyun looked at Quiqui in his arms, looked at Heavenly Venerable Hao Han in front of him, and smiled, "Senior Hao, I passed, right?" Everything was in a trance. It was just a short time. He stayed in this world for only a few days but remained in the dream for dozens of years, or even hundreds of years, which was so long. "You passed. If this doesn't count as passing, then no one will be able to pass." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. "I didn't think you would wake up in 3 days. To think that such a perfect world would be given up so easily. This is truly a pleasant surprise. Your Tao heart is so firm that it is hard for anyone to match it." Tianyun smiled and turned to look at God Monarch Yukin. She has been in a dream for a long time. He didn't know what kind of dream she was having, but she kept smiling. She felt very excellent and didn't want to wake up. She fell into a deep dream, and it was intense. "There is no sign of waking up at all." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said, "Reincarnation may seem to be a memory that can last a lifetime. It is easier to sink into the Tao's heart completely. After all, the pain she has experienced is undoubtedly more, and she is more eager to go to that wonderful world. The more you experience, the better, especially that kind of terrible experience, the more painful you feel, and you don't want to wake up from the dream. I think she will wake up." Tianyun shook his head. "Oh, so sure." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. "I will wake up." Tianyun simply replied, "Is that so? Then let's wait and see." Many people are stuck in this stage, 1 foot in hell, 1 foot in heaven, all in a single thought. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han sighed with emotion and continued to taste the tea. Tianyun got up and sat next to her, drinking tea with her and waiting for God Monarch Yukin to wake up. He believed that God Monarch Yukin could wake up so much because he saw that God Monarch Yukin was indifferent in her heart these days. Still, she was very kind, but as time went by, she began to become apathetic, that was to protect herself. But he believed that God Monarch Yukin still had that kind heart, not cold. This heart was equivalent to a firm Tao heart. Chapter 11:26. After Tianyun rushed out of the illusion, he accompanied Heavenly Venerable Hao Han to drink tea. He didn't do anything else. At most, he drank tea while absorbing the rich star power around him to increase his experience. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han didn't say anything. He seemed to be waiting for the result of God Monarch Yukin. If God Monarch Yukin passed, it would undoubtedly be the two of them who could announce it together. This would save a lot of trouble. Moreover, it was only a month. There was no rush. The jade pendant was not consumed here. It was much safer than outside. This was a unique space. Naturally, there would be no big problem. The time it was passed, day by day. God Monarch Yukin was still immersed in her beautiful dream. She didn't want to wake up at all. She must have failed. There are only a few days left. Quiqui no longer stayed with Heavenly Venerable Hao Han but liked to be with Tianyun. Tianyun has a comfortable aura, but in fact, he hasn't taken off the longevity suit. Nonsense, my master can pass. She is mighty and easily passed my test. The little boy retorted. He was naturally the tool spirit of God Monarch Yukin's treasure. Since he followed God Monarch Yukin, he would naturally side with his master. HMPH, my master is still the most powerful. He passed in just 3 days. Quiqui shook her little feet, her face full of pride. Tianyun rubbed her little head and said, "You are really like my daughter. You should play with my daughter. I think it will be more interesting." Is Master's daughter exciting? Quiqui's eyes lit up, and she looked forward to it. Tianyun smiled and wanted to go back. "Of course, it's interesting, I will take you to see it." In the blink of an eye, his daughter must have grown up a lot. Staying here for a year is equivalent to many years. When he returns, he should have grown into a slender and elegant girl. When they were chatting, Monarch Yukon slowly opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were still full of nostalgia as if she did not want to wake up. "Everything is just passing clouds." Monarch Yukon shook her head and sighed deeply. No one knew what she was dreaming about, but it seemed that she had already noticed it. However, she still did not plan to come out. She would only come out when it was almost time. "Master." The little boy pounced on her and was extremely excited. Then, he turned around and made a face at Quiqui. "See, my master has woken up." "Humph." Quiqui turned her head and ignored him. "Congratulations, you have passed this test. It seems that your Tao hearts are indeed solid." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. "Your Tao heart is indeed good. You can wake up at any time, but you are unwilling to wake up. Some good things are always in dreams. If you want to turn this dream into reality, you just need to become strong." Senior Hao is right. The nostalgia in God Monarch Yukon's eyes disappeared in the blink of an eye, replaced by a firm gaze. Tianyun smiled. Just like Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said, everything is about strength. As long as they are strong enough, the dream they had before can be realized. Everything is a matter of strength. As long as you are strong enough, what dream cannot be realized? Both of you have passed my test, proving that you have a strong heart and meet my expectations. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han looked at them and said in a low voice, "Do you know why I always test my Tao heart? Talent is not the key. Diligence is also not the key. The real key is to have a firm Tao heart. Only in this way can I guarantee that all demons will not invade me and strengthen my cultivation heart." Tianyun replied, "A Tao heart is more important than any talent. Many people can't do this. Without a firm Tao heart, many things are challenging to do." "That's right. Tao heart is vital in the later stages. Some people who cultivate to the later stages feel that they are lost in it, unable to break through the bottleneck, or are addicted to power, causing them to stagnate. Tao heart is the most important existence." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han was delighted with Tianyun's answer. So many true experts have a firm Tao heart, so if you want to become a true expert, you must first have a Tao heart. Therefore, if I choose a disciple, I naturally need a firm Tao heart. Without a firm Tao heart, you cannot become a disciple. Now that both of you have a firm Tao heart, it is enough for you to become my in-name disciples. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han revealed a smile once more. "These two treasures will belong to you. I hope that you will treat them well and nurture them. They will be of great help to you in the future. If we don't pass the final stage, will we not be able to take them away?" Tianyun looked at Quiqui and the others. "Of course not. Even if you pass their test, you can't take them away." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said. Tianyun was a little depressed. He wouldn't take it away if he didn't pass the test. "I know that it is a bit harsh. First of all, you must obtain their approval before you can reach the final step." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said with a smile. "All right, we understand." They all knew the meaning behind this. These were all treasures of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. They definitely couldn't be casually given to them. If he wasn't even being acknowledged by his treasures, then there was no need to discuss reaching the final stage. As for stripping them of their treasures, it was elementary. Although they had already recognized him as their master, Heavenly Venerable Hao Han was still a generation of Heavenly Venerates. He was their previous master. There was no pressure at all. "Of course, other than them following you, I have other things for you." Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. "Since you are an in-name disciple, I won't mistreat you." Then he waved his hand, and 5 balls of light floated in the air, spinning in the air. Tianyun looked up and saw that among these 5 balls of light were 5 high-grade Heavenly Tao martial arts, which was a big deal. It was a high-grade Heavenly Tao martial arts, worthy of being a Heavenly Venerable. There are 5 high-grade Heavenly Tao martial arts here, enough for you to cultivate to the Heavenly Venerable level. But even if it is a high-grade Heavenly Tao martial arts, it may not be able to let you cultivate to the Heavenly Venerable level just like that. Everything depends on your luck. With a heaven-defying martial art, it doesn't mean that there is no bottleneck. Still, with such an influential martial art, there will be a specific auxiliary effect, and the success rate will be much higher than others. High-grade Heavenly Dao martial art. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. This was a treasure for him. His strongest is only a high-grade rebirth level martial art, while other Heavenly Dao martial arts, there is no such thing. Chapter 11:27. High-grade Heavenly Dao level martial art. Not to mention Yi Tianyun, even God Monarch Yukin's eyes lit up. She had a Heavenly Dao level martial arts but only a low-grade Heavenly Dao level martial art. Middle-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts were already her dream, and this grade was too challenging to obtain, let alone high-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts. Initially, she was a God Monarch, but it did not mean all were rich and could have many Heavenly Dao level martial arts. She could only obtain a low-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts, which she had spent much money on. Now that she saw 5 Heavenly Dao level martial arts before her, she was ecstatic. It was simply a dream. This was a Heavenly Dao level martial art, and she could take a step forward with a high-grade Heavenly Dao level martial art. There are 5 high-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts here. They are all martial arts that I have created. The situation of each martial art is different. You can choose according to your own needs. Of course, the main thing is to see how strong your Heavenly Venerate power and your control are. As long as you are strong enough, take as many as possible. If you can't get one, I will still choose one. After all, you are all my disciples. Your control is not good, but it will improve. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han gave a shocking answer, which stunned God Monarch Yukin. Senior Hao, no, Master, you mean that it can be yours if you can take it yourself. God Monarch Yukin was shocked. He felt like a pie falling from the sky. 5 high-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts. If he could get all of them, wouldn't he be invincible? Yes, as long as you have enough ability, take it at will. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled. Yi Tianyun looked at the 5 martial arts floating in the air, smiled, and said nothing. Then this disciple will give it a try. God Monarch Yukin couldn't wait to give it a try. Being able to get one was already a pleasant surprise. Of course, Heavenly Venerable Hao Han had already said that even if they couldn't get a single one, he would still choose one for them. This meant that there was a safe opportunity for them to choose. It was truly generous of them. Immediately, God Monarch Yukin gathered her strength and quickly flew up. She reached out her hand and inserted it into the ball of light, wanting to take out this martial art. Who would have thought that the moment she touched this ball of light, she would be sent flying for dozens of meters before falling? This kind of rebound force was considered weak and only slightly sent flying. Although there was no limit to the number of times, this was not too good. This must be controlled well. It must be synchronized with this energy to be able to pass through. This is a relatively gentle method. You can also take it down if you are strong enough to explode it directly. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han explained. God Monarch Yukin nodded. She knew that she couldn't succeed in one go. She had to try a few more times. She followed her and flew over again. She did not choose to use violence to break it. If she wanted to use violence to break it, it would be a joke to face the power of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Thus, she could only choose the first method. It was not advisable to use violence to break it. It would only make her lose face. Bang! God Monarch Yukin was sent flying again, but she did not land. She spun her delicate body and quickly flew over. She promptly tried again. Bang! She was sent flying again, but it was clear that the small hand had stabbed in a little just now. It proved that there was still a chance, not without a chance. After trying again and again, God Monarch Yukin had failed countless times. Her delicate hand stabbed into the shield increasingly, and it was visible to the naked eye that she was still far from the martial arts. As if she didn't know exhaustion, God Monarch Yukin continuously tried, stabbing into the barrier repeatedly. Ultimately, her entire palm was inserted into the ball of light. She forcefully grabbed the martial technique and forcefully dragged it out. I finally got it. She got the martial technique. God Monarch Yukin looked battered and exhausted. Even her slender hands had suffered some damage. She still seemed quite miserable. However, these were all superficial wounds. She just needed to recover a little. Compared to this, martial arts was the main point. When she got the martial arts she wanted, even if some lives were put on the line, she might not be able to obtain a Heavenly Dao level martial art. This was just a superficial wound. Naturally, it would not be a hindrance. She rested for a bit and continued to obtain more. After all, this was a rare opportunity, and she had to try harder. If you want to obtain the second book, the difficulty will increase. You should grasp it well. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han reminded. Sure enough, when God Monarch Yukin continued to take the second book, she discovered that the difficulty was several times more difficult than before. If it had been a piece of paper that could barely be passed through before, it was now like an iron plate. It was not easy to obtain at all. The difficulty has dramatically increased, making her want to vomit blood. She thought that after getting the first book and getting familiar with energy control, she could get other martial arts. Who knew that the second time was even more difficult? If it was difficult to pierce through, they could only get one. This was like asking Heavenly Venerable Hao Han to give them martial arts. However, God Monarch Yukin did not give up. She kept trying to get 2 martial arts no matter what. Tianyun sat beside her and drank tea, watching her try again and again. Anyway, there is plenty of time, and he is not in a hurry, so he just casually tried God Monarch Yukin. Soon, after a long time of trying, God Monarch Yukin finally got the second martial art book, which was a significant breakthrough and significantly improved control. Master, you don't forget to continue to test us. Tianyun shook his head. How could he not know the thoughts of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han? These are tests. It's just that the trial with rewards makes them more motivated. In the future, you can cultivate on your own. Naturally, you can teach some. You won't be able to see it in the future unless you break through to the Heavenly Venerable realm. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said with a smile. Tianyun nodded. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han was a spiritual here, so he could not teach too much. In the future, he would have to wait until his cultivation level broke through before he could see Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's actual body. I gave up. God Monarch Yukin finally gave up the third martial art. She is not someone who gives up quickly, but she knows that it is impossible to succeed soon. This third is too tricky. I feel that I must break through again, and all aspects have to be improved. Why don't you try it again? Tianyun said with a smile. God Monarch Yukin rolled her eyes at him. Do you think it's easy to take? You can try it yourself and see how many books you can take. She knows her limits. Although she has a treasure mountain in front of her, she knows she is incapable, so she chooses to give up in the end. Okay, I will try how many books I can take. Tianyun stood up and looked at the 5 lights above, revealing a smile. Chapter 11:28. Although God Monarch Yukin took away 2 martial arts books, Heavenly Venerable Hao Han quickly restored them. These were all made by himself. If he wanted to add more, he only needed to use his divine sense to replenish swiftly one. Tianyun came under the 5 lights and looked at these energy balls. The probing eyes were released, and their energy situation was checked. The probing eyes are almost omnipotent. Only material things can be analyzed and divided into highly detailed data. I want to see how many books you can get this time. God Monarch Yukin sat down, took the teacup, and poured himself a mouthful of tea. How can the power of a heavenly venerate be so easy to break? Do you think you can pick up any cabbage on the street? Master will get a lot of books. Kwikwi retorted from the side. Looks like you like him quite a lot. God Monarch Yukin looked at her from head to toe and said, it's rare for a tool spirit to stick to him just like that. I like Master. What's wrong? Kwikwi retorted. There is no problem if you like him. Then how many books do you think he can take? God Monarch Yukin asked. At least 3 books. Kwikwi stretched out 3 fingers. No matter what, she had 1 more book than God Monarch Yukin. 3 books. God Monarch Yukin momentarily thought and smiled. It seems you don't know how difficult the 3rd book is. I was only a little later than him, so the gap was not big. If the gap is not big, can he still get 3 books? God Monarch Yukin's deduction is correct. She is, at most, a little later than Tianyun, but the gap is not very big. In this case, it means that their level is almost the same. If I say 3, then 3. The master will get 3. Kwikwi retorted, still quite stubborn. God Monarch Yukin shook his head. If you lose, why don't you choose to follow me? I accept treasures. No, you bastard. Kwikwi didn't dare to look at God Monarch Yukin, so she ran to Tianyun and looked at her. God Monarch Yukin? No, it should be God Monarch Yukin. Are you trying to steal my tool spirit? Tianyun hugged Kwikwi and looked at her with a smile. He knew God Monarch Yukin was joking, he just wanted to bully Kwikwi. Of course I want her, she is so confident in you, don't you want to bet? God Monarch Yukin smiled. What about you? Don't you want to gamble with that tool spirit? Tianyun looked at the little boy and smiled. I don't bet on tool spirit. If you surpass me, I will tell you the secret, how about it? God Monarch Yukin smiled. Correspondingly, if you lose, I won't ask too much, let me rub her hard, how about it? She said, moving her fingers, wanting to rub Kwee hard to let her know the consequences of talking nonsense. No problem. Tianyun rubbed Kwee's little head. However, I won't let you get away with it. Find out about your memories and make them clear to me. You make it sound like you can get 3 books. God Monarch Yukin rolled her eyes at him. She still felt that Tianyun could not get the 3rd book. She had already tried the difficulty, how could she not know? Heavenly Venerable Hao Han also looked over to see what Tianyun was doing. Tianyun stayed there for a while, ready to take down the martial arts. Master, do your best. Kwee doesn't want to be bullied by God Monarch Yukin, she must wish Tianyun to win this game. Tianyun smiled at her, then jumped and reached into the light ball. God Monarch Yukin's eyes lit up. She wanted to see Tianyun fly away, but she saw Tianyun reach out and quickly get one of the martial arts books. What? He succeeded in one try. God Monarch Yukin was dumbfounded. He thought he had to try many times, but who knew he would succeed soon? Heavenly Venerable Hao Han narrowed his eyes and was shocked by Tianyun's precise control. The 1st book is in my hands. After Tianyun took this martial art, he jumped again, stretched out his hand again, quickly passed through the 2nd light ball, and promptly got the martial art again. The 2nd book is in my hands. Without any obstruction, he quickly got it. It felt as simple as drinking water before God Monarch Yukin tried countless times and finally succeeded in obtaining the martial art. Tianyun quickly succeeded, making her depressed to the point of wanting to vomit blood. So simple, he succeeded. It felt like what Tianyun was trying to explore was not the thick shield but a thin layer of paper. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's eyes narrowed. This was far beyond his expectations. It was so easy to surpass the time needed by God Monarch Yukin. Although there was no time limit, it was shocking to get it so quickly. The second one. God Monarch Yukin jumped up excitedly, clapping her hands and clapping excitedly. God Monarch Yukin and the others were shocked and didn't know what to say. Tianyun's eyes focused. He locked onto one of the martial arts books, jumped up again, inserted his hand into it again, quickly entered it again, and then pulled it outside, and the 3rd book was easily obtained again. There was no difficulty, just like flowing water, smooth to the end. The 3rd book is in hand. Tianyun grabbed the martial art and looked at God Monarch Yukin with a faint smile. You lost. This is too incredible, how can you get it so easily? God Monarch Yukin widened her beautiful eyes, unable to believe the reality in front of her. She has always thought that Tianyun is not much different from her, but now it seems she is overthinking. The gap is not small, it is like the difference between heaven and earth. She spent a long time trying to get the 2nd and 3rd martial arts book, and finally, she gave up. Tianyun quickly got it in just a short time. It can be said that he is an existence that can ultimately kill her, but the fact is not at the same level. Isn't it the same as you? Put your hand in and control this energy to enter, what difference can there be? Tianyun shrugged his shoulders. Since he could get it so quickly, the secret is naturally the investigating eye. At first, when he watched God Monarch Yukin try again and again, he had already observed the situation of the light ball and then recorded the situation of the energy. When he comes personally, he can easily succeed according to these standards. As for the 4th book, he has to try a few more times. After all, directly observing from below is far inferior to the energy fluctuations brought by God Monarch Yukin, constantly testing. Looking at the constantly changing energy fluctuations is the easiest to get. Chapter 11:29. 3 martial arts books are easy to get. They are all high-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts. If they are placed outside, it will attract a crazy fight. This martial art can give people a chance to break through to the Heavenly Venerable realm. How can they not be jealous? If it is known by elder rank of 2nd grade God territory, it is estimated that all of them are crazy. They do not have high-grade Heavenly Dao level martial arts. Even if they do, they only have 1 or 2 books at most. This is not the critical point. The key is that this is from the hands of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, and with detailed insights, what is better than this? Tianyun has 3 Heavenly Dao level martial arts books that will make people crazy. 3 books. Master, you are amazing. Kwee was excited again. This time, she did not have to worry about being ravaged, but she could go and ravage God Monarch Yukin. No hurry, I can continue to take it. Yi Tianyun's eyes focused, he jumped up, reached into the light ball, inserted a small piece, and bounced back. Seeing this scene, God Monarch Yukin finally breathed a sigh of relief. It would be a miracle if he could continue to take it down quickly. Now that she saw that he was sent flying, the shield of light proved effective. He needed a more substantial control to take it down. Yes, this is the first try, and he can already go deeper into a small section. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's eyes lit up. Even if he failed, at least half of it was successful. Yi Tianyun did not stop, he continued to fly over again, reached out, and stabbed again. This time, it was more than before, but he was still sent flying. He still couldn't take it down easily twice, but he didn't give up and continued to try. After 7 or 8 tries, he finally inserted it and took out the martial art. It worked, the fourth one. Yi Tianyun fell from the sky and put away the fourth martial art with a smile. This situation made God Monarch Yukin complicated. He tried it for a while and quickly broke the fourth martial art. It was much faster than her. Yi Tianyun did not stop and quickly continued to try the last martial art. Since he wants to take it, he must take all his martial arts. Otherwise, he will not give up. Again, he continued to grab it, but it immediately failed. The fifth martial art was even more challenging to pick up. It was not that the fifth martial art was too precious but that the difficulty increased as the martial arts decreased. Yi Tianyun tried again and again. Every time he failed, he would notice the energy fluctuation of the light ball. At the same time, he could use the same energy to explore, but every time there is a difference, he has to continue to try. This ball of light is straightforward, it makes the ball of light think that he is one of us and then lets him in. The principle is straightforward, but it requires robust control to be able to match the energy fluctuation of the ball of light. God Monarch Yukin can't do it for now, but Yi Tianyun can do it, he just needs to try a few more times to succeed. Yi Tianyun was sent flying, but before he landed on the ground, he jumped up in the air and stabbed into the light ball. Finally, he pierced the light ball and grabbed the heavenly Dao level martial art. Come out. Yi Tianyun quickly pulled out and slowly fell to the ground. Everything was so light, and it was much easier compared to the previous God, Monarch Yukin. 5 books, 5 books. Quickly rushed over, hugged Yi Tianyun, and said excitedly, Master. You are amazing, you got 5 books, 3 more than her. She has been full of worship for Yi Tianyun, and Heavenly Venerable Hao Han is too lazy to pay attention to him. You have shouted many times today. Yi Tianyun rubbed her little head and smiled, Master, I am sorry, I have taken all the martial arts I have. It doesn't matter, but these 5 martial arts are different, cultivate according to your situation. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled, then his tone became serious, but there is one thing you must pay attention to. You absolutely cannot spread it out. If it is spread out, you will be punished by the Heavenly Tao. Cultivating my martial arts is already equivalent to making a vow. You absolutely cannot spread it out. If it is spread out, you will be punished by the Heavenly Tao. There is no exception. If it could be casually spread, there was no need for this Heavenly Venerable Road to exist. It would be acceptable to spread the martial arts out at will. Whoever learned it and broke through to the Heavenly Venerate would be chosen as a disciple. How simple was that? Heavenly Venerable Hao Han would not do this. If others ruined it, it was not something he wanted to see. Master, I will not tell anyone. Yi Tianyun and God Monarch Yukin nodded, their expression solemn. This is not a joke. Very good, this is our gift to you. Of course, there is also this heaven-stealing divine land. As long as you cultivate well, you do not need those protective shields, you can easily enter and cultivate. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han said, Heaven-stealing divine land's devouring ability cannot be changed at will, it can only be offset by blocking the devouring ability. Otherwise, it can only be offset by these treasures. After giving the order, they were about to leave when Yi Tianyun suddenly remembered something and asked, Master, do we need to leave names outside? Leaving their names, naturally, there are 8 names on the cliff outside. Oh, this is all up to you. It doesn't matter whether you stay or not. Those who can climb up here are all geniuses. After they have mastered a little control, they will leave their names outside and publicize themselves. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled, I didn't let them leave words outside, and there is no need for that. It's just a matter of interest. Yi Tianyun was speechless. It turned out that this was what happened. He thought that they would leave words outside, but it turned out that they were fond of face. They felt that they would leave their names outside. Well, I won't leave words outside. Yi Tianyun looked at God Monarch Yukin and said, what about you? Are you going to leave words outside? Not interested. God Monarch Yukin's eyes were full of absent-mindedness as if she was still immersed in Yi Tianyun's violent martial arts. Then I look forward to you breaking through to Heavenly Venerable. The path of cultivation is not easy. I hope your Tao heart can become stronger and stronger. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han smiled and waved his hand. 2 rays of light enveloped them and disappeared in the next moment. Soon after, both of them reached the peak of their current state, proving that they had wholly conquered the Heavenly Venerable realm. 2 people at once. Chapter 1130. When Yi Tianyun and God Monarch Yukin returned to their peak, everyone looked over. After all, this was too conspicuous. Standing at the highest peak, how could they not be conspicuous? Are they the experts who have reached the peak of the Heavenly Venerable Road? Many were newcomers and had never seen Yi Tianyun and God Monarch Yukin, so they looked at them curiously. More than that, they were still looking forward to seeing them. Would they carve their names on this cliff? In this way, they can know their names. Who knew that Yi Tianyun and God Monarch Yukin would fly away and not stay here too long? This place is too conspicuous. They don't like to be high profile, so they chose to leave as soon as they came out. Before Yi Tianyun left, he looked over and found Heaven Monarch Ziguan and others had left. They stayed with Heavenly Venerable Hao Han for a long time, but Heaven Monarch Ziguan and others didn't have a jade pendant, so they naturally had to leave. What's going on? They left without carving their names. They were shocked and thought they would leave their names on the cliff, but they didn't do it, they went directly. This greatly disappointed them. They didn't know their names. Now, they couldn't even know what they were called after going out. However, this can only be known through scouting. After Yi Tianyun left, Yi Tianyun asked, you lost just now. You are willing to admit defeat. Can you tell me your secret? God Monarch Yukin was silent momentarily, then looked up at the front and said, let's go down there. Since you are interested, I will tell you. Then they flew down from the sky and landed in the forest on the side, a relatively hidden place. When they found a good place, God Monarch Yukin looked like he wanted to say something, and Yi Tianyun shrugged and said, if you don't want to say it, then don't say it. He was interested in seeing how a dignified God Monarch would be willing to work for a second-grade God territory. Especially the things she did were not very honorable. Of course, he also wanted to know why she did this. There were too many doubts, but he would also be too lazy to see if he did not say these things. No, I just want to say that the more you know, the more dangerous it is. God Monarch Yukin shook her head and sighed, it doesn't matter if you want to know, but with your current qualifications, knowing too much will be dangerous. Although you have accepted the inheritance of Master Hao and have obtained so many heavenly Tao-level martial arts in the face of powerful strength, it is still not worth mentioning. I am very clear about this. A person is tiny, and in the face of terrifying power, he was easily killed. A God Monarch can easily beat me to the ground. How could Yi Tianyun not know that a God Monarch can quickly suppress him? The difference in cultivation is so significant there is no way to resist. Even so, I still want to know the situation. Otherwise, I don't know what will happen. Prevention has always been the principle of Yi Tianyun's cautious behavior. Indeed, it is better to know some things than not. God Monarch Yukin looked at him and said, I hope you won't reveal the following content. There is a conspiracy in the third-grade God territory, the War of God territory. War of God territory. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He could smell the aura of war. Yes, this War of God territory is not a God territory's war of ascending to heaven. The War of God territory of ascending to heaven is nothing compared to the War of God territory. War of God territory of the gods is a battle between many third-grade God realms, and more than a dozen forces are involved. It means that the people will be in great danger once the war begins. Even the second-grade God territory will be affected, but the first-grade God territory will be better. They won't be affected too much. As for the third-grade God territory battle, you can imagine how fierce the battle will be. Many experts gathered together and fought crazily, with countless casualties. The sky is full of Heaven Monarch Realm experts, and many God Monarch Realm experts and even Heavenly Venerable experts personally participated in the battle. At that time, how small the Earth Monarch was, and even the Heaven Monarch was so weak. It can be said that below God Monarch, they are all cannon fodder. Yi Tianyun heard this and couldn't help but be moved. Why is there a war of God territory? Yi Tianyun frowned and said, is it for a treasure? Yes, they are robbing the power to enter the 4th grade God territory. It can be said to be a treasure that allows them to advance. God Monarch Yukin stretched a finger and said, among so many 3rd grade God territory, only one God territory can finally obtain the right to advance. The rest are all losers. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, this is too cruel. There are so many God territories, and only one can have the right to choose. So many are willing to join the battle. Of course, it is already difficult for these dozen or so God territory forces to take another step forward. They can improve only by entering the world of a 4th grade God territory. Otherwise, it is meaningless. God Monarch Yukin shook his head and said, there are many who have participated and even more who have not. So this time, the faction you belong to plundered the geniuses for this battle. Yi Tianyun roughly knows something. Yes, it's still early. It's still 1,000 years away from the War of God territory, or even 10,000 years. We will enter the absolute slaughter when we look at the heavenly treasure. God Monarch Yukin explained. Yi Tianyun pondered momentarily, looked at her, and said, then what about you? Have you always been a member of that faction? Why do I feel you are unwilling to work for your faction? This could be judged by the fact that God Monarch Yukin had let him off. They were the ones who helped me to reincarnate successfully. Logically speaking, they are my benefactors. I will repay them. God Monarch Yukin shook his head. After that, I realized that this was what I deserved. However, I have already sworn to serve them for 10,000 years. There is no way to change it. Her eyes were full of anger and grief. Although Yi Tianyun didn't know the details of the process, he roughly judged that she was being played. This is like the 10,000 star stone originally belonged to her. One day, it was stolen at home. She followed the thief and said he would give it to her and help her solve the urgent situation. She was grateful and said that she would repay the other party. This is a typical case of being sold and helping several people. It is simply a scam. Now, she has made a vow, and she can't disobey. Chapter 1131. This is indeed a sad thing. Yi Tianyun coughed lightly. He felt that God Monarch Yukin was a tragedy. She was completely fooled. However, she made an oath. She could not repent and could only choose to obey. After 10,000 years, this oath could be undone. Her goal would naturally be achieved when she finished participating in the War of God territory. As for whether she would retaliate or not, when the War of God territory ended, what would happen would be her problem. If they had succeeded in obtaining the qualification to enter the world of 4th grade God territory, God Monarch Yukin would have been nothing. Of course, it was also possible that in the War of God territory, God Monarch Yukin would die directly, and everything would end early. There's nothing to be sad about. This is my own choice. God Monarch Yukin looked at him and said, the best thing you can do now is hide or keep a low profile. At the very least, don't tell anyone about the martial arts that Master Hao passed to us. Otherwise, it will attract a fatal disaster. High-grade heavenly Dao level martial arts. Even a 3rd grade God territory would be jealous of it, let alone a 2nd grade God territory. Of course, they made an oath, and there was no way they could say it out loud. If they said it out, it would be death. However, some insidious people would instead let them die than force them to say something. Before receiving the punishment, there is still a chance to take out some information. Greed is endless. Yi Tianyun and others are dead or alive, they just want to take out more martial arts. So they are going to come to 2nd grade God territory and forcibly recruit people. Yi Tianyun asked. Yes, we were a bit rough before. Some of us will directly go down and choose geniuses to come up. At that time, you will be participating in the War of God territory. God Monarch Yukin reminded, if you want to participate in the War of God territory, you can only keep a low profile. Didn't you say before that the War of God territory would affect the 2nd grade God territory? Yi Tianyun asked. That's right, God Monarch Yukin nodded. In this way, even if I keep a low profile, will I still be attacked by the flames of war if I stay in 2nd grade God territory? Yi Tianyun asked. This, looking at the remote situation of the forces, some won't be affected. God Monarch Yukin said, in that case, there is a chance to be affected. Then why should I hide and lower myself? Yi Tianyun shook his head. Then you can hide in the 1st grade God territory so you won't be affected. God Monarch Yukin changed his words again. Hide in the 1st grade God territory, you might as well let me hide in the common realm. There will be no damage there. Tianyun rolled his eyes at her and said, forget it, there is no need to do that. Let nature take its course. How can I be absent in the war of God territory? Do you think we cultivators can become stronger without experiencing this? How do you think so? If your cultivation is too low, you will become cannon fodder. God Monarch Yukin said with hatred. If we are sent to the third grade God territory, wouldn't we focus on nurturing them? 1,000 years later, we can still have a place in the third grade God territory with our strength. Tianyun looked at her and said, compared to being taken away, I want to recruit disciples here personally. Isn't it better? God Monarch Yukin was silent. This war was indeed 1,000 years later, or even 10,000 years later, when their cultivation would break through a lot, they would not only be at the Earth Monarch level. Indeed, no matter what, you cannot join the Saint Peak God territory I am in. God Monarch Yukin said in a deep voice, they will force you to become a slave and completely control you. Saint Peak God territory. Tianyun's eyes narrowed, especially when he heard that he would be forced to become a slave. It sounded chilling. That's right, Saint Peak God territory. If you were caught in the beginning, you would only become a slave, not even committing suicide. God Monarch Yukin said bitterly, they are so overbearing, they want their disciples to be loyal to themselves, so they will forcibly become slaves. Unless they are a little valuable, they will not become slaves. Tianyun frowned. It seems that he made the right choice to run away. If he didn't run away, he would become a slave. Of course, those people can't stop him if he wants to escape. No one can catch him with a teleportation God stone. Unless a restriction makes him unable to escape, he can escape. You have been out for so long, if you can't find me, will you be punished? Tianyun asked. I don't know about that. In any case, my mission is to cultivate here and make a breakthrough in my cultivation. God Monarch Yukin said, my greatest mission right now is to recover my peak cultivation and break through to the heavenly venerate. This is the most important thing for them. The rest is not important. One more God Monarch was a solid support. If there was one more heavenly venerate, becoming an elder would be even more impossible. He would have an extremely high status and influence. When you reincarnated, what was your cultivation level? Tianyun asked. Late stage God Monarch cultivation. I must completely awaken my memory to know the details. God Monarch Yukin shook his head, but no matter what, I have to participate in the war of God territory. This is my value to them. What was it that made you willing to serve for 10,000 years? Tianyun was a little interested in this. Reincarnation soul grass is very rare. I found it with great difficulty. I waited to mature and use it to reincarnate, but several experts besieged me, so I was forced back. When I came back, the reincarnation soul grass was taken away. God Monarch Yukin looked at Tianyun and said, you should have guessed what happened next. I was in a terrible situation. Because I was in a hurry to break through to a higher level, my body was in a terrible state, and I was about to collapse at any time. Reincarnation soul grass is my last hope. Saint Peak God territory took it out and made this request. I can't refuse it. After I was reborn, when my memory awakened, I went to find the truth. I found out who the person who attacked me was, and finally found that it was the expert of Saint Peak God territory, but it's useless. I have made an oath, which is deeply engraved in my soul and cannot be violated. Unless the person who made me swear an oath dies, there is no need to fulfill it. God Monarch Yukin looked at Tianyun with bright eyes, shook her head, and said, forget it. I hope you can help me. The opponent is a God Monarch expert, only stronger than me. God Monarch, I can't do anything about it. If it were a heaven monarch, it would be fine. Tianyun shrugged his shoulders and said helplessly, one day, my cultivation will be stronger. I will help you deal with this group of scum and treat it as a punishment on behalf of heaven. Chapter 1132. Forget it. Just focus on your cultivation. You won't listen to me anyway. The war of God territory is terrible, and you still have the mind to go there. God Monarch Yukin suspects that Tianyun is crazy. Most of the cultivators don't even have time to hide. Tianyun still has the feeling of trying. Undeniably, the resources of the third grade God territories are excellent, but so many resources are given to you to work for them. If you want to become stronger, you can only do this, right? Tianyun smiled and said, if I keep hiding in the corner, I definitely won't be able to become stronger. Moreover, if I can escape this war of God territory, what about next time? Unless I hide forever, I will always be affected. Even if he did not join any God territory forces, too many troops were involved in the war of God territory. Unless he kept hiding far away, he would be affected one day. Alright, I was convinced by you. These are all your thoughts. Anyway, just don't join Saint Peak God territory. It's the most disgusting God territory. After speaking, God Monarch Yukon shook her head and said, "It's almost time for me to leave this place. You should take care of yourself. Thank you for your reminder. I will remember it." Yi Tianyun nodded. God Monarch Yukon's information was still beneficial. At least he would not join the Saint Peak God territory when they came to recruit people. God Monarch Yukon looked at him deeply and sighed, "Among all the cultivators I have seen, you can still maintain a warm heart. I hope you can persevere. You are now equal to my junior brother, why don't you call me senior sister?" "Well, it seems that my grades are better than yours. I should be senior brother, right?" Yi Tianyun shrugged, saying he would not call God Monarch Yukon senior sister. "I am older than you." God Monarch Yukon glared at him. "Cultivators don't count age, do they?" Yi Tianyun looked at her and smiled. "You are a woman. Is it good to say that you are older than others? If it's a woman, even if it's a cultivator, they are not willing to tell their age." On the other hand, God Monarch Yukon said that he is older than Yi Tianyun, just to strive for the position of senior sister. "I like it, how about it?" God Monarch Yukon looked at him with a playful look, hooked his finger, and said, "Come, call me senior sister." "You want me to call you senior sister?" Yi Tianyun shook his head and smiled. "This is impossible unless you break through to the heavenly venerable realm first. Don't let me call you senior sister. On the other hand, if I break through to the heavenly venerable realm before you, you call me senior brother, how about it? You will break through to the heavenly venerable realm before me." God Monarch Yukon looked at him and laughed. "How is this possible? I admit that your ability is not weak, even stronger than me now, but I have not fully awakened my memory. If I awaken my memory, my cultivation speed will be far inferior to mine. I have experience of God Monarch, only one step away from breaking through to heavenly venerable. Unless you are also a reincarnation of God Monarch, there is no way you can beat me." Yi Tianyun shrugged and said, "Then, are you willing to make a bet with me?" God Monarch Yukon was right. However, he had the system. There was no pressure at all. At the moment, there was a bit of pressure. That was to break through to the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. He needed some standards before he could break through. There was a bit of difficulty, but he believed it would not take too long. "No problem, let's bet." God Monarch Yukon smiled. "If you win against me, don't call me senior sister, even if I marry you. There is no need to marry me, just call me senior brother." Yi Tianyun waved his hand. He already had Shi Shuiyan and did not dare to be disloyal. "You are quite arrogant. Do you think I like to marry you? I just want to say that I will not lose." God Monarch Yukon looked at him angrily and said, "You are not likable. So many people like me. Even if you don't like me, you should at least give me some face." Cough cough, "It is not a problem. You are charming and talented. But I have a wife, so I naturally must be disciplined." Yi Tianyun explained. "Oh, it's rare. For men like you, you should have 3 wives and 4 concubines. You make me change my mind." God Monarch Yukon looked at him as if he were looking at a rare animal. She smiled and said, "It's rare to see someone as dedicated as you. I admire you very much, at least not like those stinky men with 3 wives and 4 concubines. They will be dumped in the blink of an eye if there is no benefit. It's rare for someone like you to have only 1 wife." God Monarch Yukon shook her head. She felt that Yi Tianyun was strange. A man like him usually had 3 wives and 4 concubines. If he were a master with high cultivations, he would naturally have 3 wives and 4 concubines. In particular, talented cultivators were willing to pay more incense. It was extremely normal to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. He had to have more children. Not bad. Yi Tianyun quickly waved his hand and said, "Let's not talk about this topic anymore. I already know the general situation. This is the bet. Let's see who breaks through to the heavenly venerate first." "No problem." God Monarch Yukon looked at him and smiled. "It's good to know you. The God territory world is full of changes. I hope we will still be alive the next time we meet." Yi Tianyun was stunned. This God Monarch Yukon is pessimistic, but it is no wonder she is gloomy. Her cultivation is as weak as an ant in such a chaotic world. She is easily crushed. She is just struggling at death's door. After saying that, God Monarch Yukon flew away and did not stay there for long. Yi Tianyun looked at her leaving figure. After silence, he found a place to meditate and cultivate. He began to absorb the experience here. Although he can't condense the core, it is not a problem to fill the experience first. The jade pendant on his body can still last for 2 months. With so much time, it is not a problem to fill up the experience. Soon after, he found a safe place, sat down, and absorbed the experience. As time passed quickly, a pleasant voice finally came after he had crazily absorbed for half a month. Ding, congratulations, player. I successfully reached the level up experience. Do you choose to break through to the Heaven Monarch now? No need. Yi Tianyun didn't even think about it. He directly refused. He wanted to break through to the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. It was impossible to be satisfied by breaking through to the Heaven Monarch realm. Core. There is still a core. Yi Tianyun looked around to see if there was a core here. The simplest and crudest way to build multiple cores in the body is to absorb another core, just like before. If you keep absorbing the life core, it will gradually accumulate and become a core. Chapter 1133. When Yi Tianyun carefully looked around, he quickly found a colossal core buried deep in the ground. It is impossible to say that there is no core here. Heaven-stealing land absorbs all the energy in the surroundings, including the core, and then condenses it to strengthen heaven-stealing land. Maybe this heaven-stealing land is not the best, but for him, if the core, it is the real key. There is a core, but it is difficult to go down. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han blessed the heaven-stealing divine land. Breaking through the restrictions Heavenly Venerable Hao Han set up was tough. Even if a Heavenly Venerable came, he might be unable to break it. The heaven-stealing divine land would have been occupied long ago if it was so easy to break. Although challenging, don't forget that Heavenly Venerable Hao Han gave them his energy to help them compend. From this point, it can be transferred to the end of breaking. Even if he can't dig out the core, he can get close to the core. He immediately took out a weapon, aimed it at the ground, and began to dig crazily, but just as he dug out a small hole, it began to fill quickly, as if it had a strong healing ability. When he dug out a hole, it was quickly filled up, and there was no time to continue digging. This recovery speed was even faster than his digging. What the hell, is it so hard to break down here? Yi Tianyun frowned. According to this, he was afraid he would be buried inside if he dug himself. Of course, this is not difficult for him, he can come out with a teleport. It seems like I have to put in more effort. Although it is troublesome, at least I can go down. Yi Tianyun followed and dug crazily, his speed suddenly increased several times. A perfect rebirth level weapon was like a shovel, constantly digging. The soil dug out was directly moved into the inventory. Initially, he wanted to move into the inner world, but he could not move in, so he could only move the soil into the inventory. After the teleportation, he began to dig crazily, and under his rapid digging, he dug a path down, but his back began to be quickly filled up, wanting to wrap him up. Yi Tianyun just wanted to take a gamble, to see if the speed of wrapping the soil was faster or if he dug faster himself, but now it seems he always dug faster. However, the road behind him was blocked bit by bit. If it were anyone else, they could not dig it down. After all, the soil that was dug out had to be at least pushed to one side, but there was no road to the back, and it could not be stuffed into the storage space, so there was no way to dig the roots. Only his particular item column could store this soil. It had to be said that this soil was still very precious, and after he went out, he would try to transfer it into the inner world to take a look. Master, what are you doing? Quickly materialized next to him, curious about what he was doing. Can't you see, I am digging a hole, but the soil behind is troublesome, it constantly moves closer. Yi Tianyun explained while digging. So that's how it is. It's elementary, and I will help Master block them. Quickly released a burst of light, and the healing ability around her began to slow down, even stopped. When Yi Tianyun saw this scene, he was stunned. You have this ability. Of course, I can revive the withered spirit medicine, but at the same time, I can also absorb the vitality around me. Quickly smiled proudly. Master, do you think I am powerful? Not bad, very good. Yi Tianyun is very surprised. This way, he won't be in a hurry, especially in the later stages. He can't even sit down and absorb it, he still has to dig and absorb it. With the help of Quiqui, the soil around him she no longer healed quickly, making him feel much more relaxed. Along the way, he smoothly arrived at the core of the bottom, where there were many restrictions, also profound. The most important thing is still the power of the Heavenly Venerable. This is the most difficult to break. If the restriction wants to be broken, it will only take a bit of effort, but the power of the Heavenly Venerable, if it is casually attacked, it will be sent flying. If it is severe, it will directly crush the intruder. Tianyun looked up and down at this thick energy. It was no different from what he thought. It was the power of Heavenly Venerable. Excellent. Begin analysis. Tianyun used his investigating eye to analyze energy fluctuation, trying to integrate it into the energy completely. Soon, he roughly analyzed it, which was no different from the previous one. Immediately, Tianyun reached out and went into the energy, and after passing through the energy layer, he saw the colossal core, which has a vast life force. Compared to the core of life he encountered before, it was dozens of times more potent, and the energy it contained was purer and more unique. Yes, it's here. After coming in, Tianyun sat down and began to absorb the core. Kwikwi was next to him, and when she saw this thing, her eyes lit up, and she began to absorb it like crazy. One big and one small, all meditating to absorb the core energy, not polite at all. After Tianyun absorbed it, this pure core energy began to flow into his body. Under his star power, the surroundings gradually solidified into a planet, gathering bit by bit. He must first achieve a non-conflict state if he wants to keep 2 planets in his body. It was initially a core of life, but now it is still absorbing the core of life. Under the same level, conflicts are relatively rare. If there is a fire attribute core, he can't absorb it. Fortunately, this is not a fire attribute core. Otherwise, he would have come down in vain. However, before Tianyun came down, he knew it was not a fire attribute core, not because of the investigating eye, but because there were so many spirit medicines around, and the vitality was so rich. How can it be a fire core? In this state, he gathered up little by little, and the planets in his body began to build slowly. It seemed that everything was so smooth. Soon, it didn't take long for him to condense a huge planet in his body successfully. When he was about to continue strengthening, some of the original core of life began to shake, and the whole inner world showed signs of collapse. What's going on? Tianyun was shocked for a moment. How could it cause a conflict? Chapter 1134. Tianyun thought everything would go smoothly. He didn't expect it not to go smoothly at all. It could even be said to be very bad. Some of the original worlds in his body began to collapse quickly. If it continues to accumulate, it will cause a conflict. At that time, the 2 planets will explode. At that time, he will directly explode. Even if he doesn't die, he will become disabled. The inner world is gone, which is equivalent to his cultivation is crippled. Everything will have to be done again. Immediately, he made a prompt decision. He immediately shattered the condensed planet and turned it into countless life energy. It circulated in his body. Soon, it was absorbed by the original core of life. It quickly expanded and became more significant. Absorbing so much core of life energy, can it not expand? This meant that he failed, ultimately failed. He initially thought that he couldn't forget in the same situation. It was just an effortless way to condense a planet. Who knew that he was wrong? It was not that simple at all. Not at all. Planets of the same attribute can't coexist. Tianyun frowned, thinking about which side the problem was. After thinking about it carefully, he suddenly slapped his thigh, scaring Kwikwi next to him to jump up. What's wrong? What happened? Kwikwi looked at him blankly, completely not knowing what happened. It's okay, Kwikwi, you can still cultivate here. Tianyun saw that her whole body was emitting green light. It seemed that she was in good condition. After absorbing the core of life here, her body had evolved. However, this process of evolution was highly long. She couldn't advance after cultivating here for some time. She had stayed here for so long but had not evolved. Not to mention staying here for some time. She would be able to advance. Of course I can. I like this kind of rich life force the most. It is very comfortable to cultivate. Kwikwi said, but master, why did you shout just now? I just thought of something, so I suddenly shouted. You can continue to cultivate. Tianyun signaled her to sit down. Kwikwi sat down again and continued to cultivate. What Tianyun thought of was naturally the matter of condensing a planet. There was no doubt that continuing to condense a second life planet was an awful thing. After failing, the solution he thought of was relatively simple, changing the attribute. The core of life was equal to the wood attribute. If he wanted to condense a planet that would not be suppressed here, then he would choose the water attribute. It meant that he needed to find a water attribute core. If it were condensed like this, they would not restrict or even give birth to each other. He guessed that this situation would likely occur in the inner world. It was likely that it could not condense a core of the same type. It had to be of different attributes. If it were the same, it would be rejected here. This was like a mountain that could not accommodate two tigers. It definitely could not be the same. Otherwise, it would be rejected. Water attribute core. Tianyun frowned. He did not know where to find this thing. Many planets have cores, but they are not weak sects. It is impossible to let them absorb the core's energy. He thought momentarily, and his eyes lit up. Heavenly Spring God Territory, maybe there is one. The name is not randomly named, but Heavenly Spring God Territory will likely be a water attribute core. How do you ask? That is another story. Then, after the matter ends, I will ask again. Tianyun did not choose to leave immediately but continued to cultivate here. Although he has enough experience, he can continue to accumulate significantly and strengthen the core of his body. Why is he in such a hurry to leave? The jade pendant on his body can last for 2 months, and it is not too late to leave after he has finished cultivating. In the next 2 months, he absorbed the core energy wildly, constantly nourishing the planet in his body, and then it became bigger and bigger, and it seemed to be many times bigger than before. In almost 2 months, he felt that he was about to leave, and with a teleport, he teleported out from the core. At the same time, he set up a coordinate here, and when he comes back to cultivate in the future, he can use the teleportation godstone to relax, and there is no need to continue digging hard. After coming out, before preparing to leave, Tianyun thought for a moment and finally put the jade pendant away. Just as he put the jade pendant away, there was a violent devouring force, and he was sucked out. In the blink of an eye, a small part of Tianyun's star power was sucked out. What a strong suction force! It is much more overbearing than the martial arts I used before. Tianyun took a deep breath. After this attempt, he immediately felt how strong this violent suction force was. No wonder the Heavenly Lord could not easily resist it. As for the Divine Lord, the cultivation effect here is not very good for them. Therefore, this place can quickly suppress the level below the Heavenly Venerable. If there is no jade pendant, he will be sucked dry. Tianyun is now frozen on the ground. He can't even move a step. No wonder Tianyun must leave before the effect of the jade pendant disappears. Otherwise, he can't even run away. He was directly sucked dry by this place. When the time comes, he can only watch himself being sucked dry, but he can't escape. This is desperate. Then Tianyun quickly took out the jade pendant, and the shield shrouded himself and protected him. This time, he can move his feet freely. It seems that I can't resist it for now. Tianyun shook his head. He thought he could resist this devouring force, but it seems it is not enough for now. He has to break through further. Otherwise, he cannot offset this terrible devouring force. After feeling the force of the suction, Tianyun left and did not continue to stay there. When he left heaven-stealing divine land and flew toward the transmission array, he immediately saw someone flying over. From his clothes, it is evident that he is the guard of Heavenly Spring God Territory. Earth Monarch Gohang, I will wait for you here. I hope you can go to him when you go back. The guard explained. Tianyun's eyes narrowed. The news had already spread out. Elder Go Huang was looking for him, and he was not surprised. Okay, I will go now. Tianyun said. Please come with me. The guard was very respectful, and he also heard something. Strong people will always be respected. I don't know what will you say if you call me over. Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He didn't know if his situation would attract the attention of the third-grade God Territory. Chapter 1135. As soon as Tianyun came out, he was immediately called by the elders. He was not surprised at all. After all, he only had 1 month to stay before, and now that he has been there for so long, he must go out to pass on the message. Otherwise, they would think that Tianyun died inside, so they naturally need someone to pass on the message. Under the guidance of the guards, he quickly returned to Heavenly Spring God Territory. His journey was unimpeded, and he directly came to Heavenly Spring God Territory's Elder Go Hang. It was the most crucial place here. Not everyone could come in casually. With the guards leading the way, he went straight to the Heavenly Spring God Territory. This is Earth Monarch Tianyun, whom Elder Go Huang wants to see. Where is Elder Go Huang? The guard asked. The elders are in a meeting, but since they are here, let me bring them over now. Another guard nodded and led Yi Tianyun inside. This meeting, take me in. Yi Tianyun asked doubtfully. Yes, you are the person the elder pointed out, even if it is a meeting, I will take you in. The guard momentarily thought, then added, the elder said that no matter the situation, he will take you in. Yi Tianyun nodded. It seemed that Elder Go Huang valued him. But thinking about it carefully, he could climb to the peak of the Heavenly Venerable Road. How could they not pay attention to him? If they did not pay attention, a donkey must have kicked their heads. Under the guidance of the guard, he walked to the hall on the inner side and did not see anyone. The voice came from inside. This time, one of our human disciples successfully ascended to the Heavenly Venerable Road. It seems like there will be a great chance for him to become a Heavenly Venerate in the future. You already said that it is possible. A human doesn't even know how to climb the mountain. Could it be that he has some special ability? Even if a human reaches the Heavenly Venerable Road, it will still be difficult for him to break through in the later stages. He will still be stuck on the road, unable to advance. How is that impossible? He is a member of our Divine Fortune Palace. I have seen his abilities. He is mighty. There is no pressure for him to become a Heavenly Venerate. Yi Tianyun can hear that one of them is Elder Dong Yun. As a member of Divine Fortune Palace, Elder Dong Yun will come over for a meeting. Let's go in. The guard ignored what was going on inside. Elder Go Huang has a very high status, he must be the leader. Yi Tianyun immediately walked inside. Just as he entered the door, all eyes focused on him. To be honest, he felt a little embarrassed. He didn't like to come in when others talked about him, especially when the person was himself. If he came in, he would start a discussion and directly target him. Earth Monarch Yi Tianyun is here. Elder Go Huang's eyes lit up. They waited for a long time and finally saw Yi Tianyun coming. Initially, they were not in a hurry to hold this meeting, but Yi Tianyun did not come out long, so they planned to keep it in advance. The meeting was only halfway through, and Yi Tianyun returned, which surprised him. Those who do not know Yi Tianyun now know him again, staring at him, wishing to see through him. 9 Refinement Earth Monarch, one of the elders said, and the other elders were shocked at this time. They have seen the 9 Refinement Earth Monarch, but it is the first time they have seen the human 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. Of course, it is not that there are so many people in the clan, only Yi Tianyun broke through to the 9 Refinement Earth Monarch, but they have seen Yi Tianyun, a human, reach the 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. It can be seen that humans with 9 Refinement Earth Monarch is scarce, human talent is not high, so it is infrequent to reach 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. 8 Refinement Earth Monarch is extremely rare, let alone 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. Now, Yi Tianyun is standing alive in front of them. Not only has he finished Heavenly Venerable Road, but he has also successfully broken through to the 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. 2 giant halos shrouded him, which is very conspicuous in the eyes of many elders. Especially Elder Xuan Tian, his eyes are full of coldness. He did not expect that the one who provoked him was such a genius. These 2 giant halos have already crushed many Heavenly Spring God territory geniuses, and they are incomparable to him. It is 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. You have just broken through to 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. Elder Dong Yun was pleasantly surprised. He had to say that Yi Tianyun gave himself a long face. He just joined the team and now has such a record, how can he not be surprised? This is all taken care of by Elder Go Huang. If I didn't go to heaven-stealing divine land, I couldn't break through to 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. Yi Tianyun smiled and flattered. No, the reward for heaven-stealing divine land is what you promised before. You deserve everything. Elder Go Huang smiled and said, I didn't expect you to break through in such a short time. It is not easy to break through to the 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. One by one, the elders have changed their views on Yi Tianyun. 9 Refinement Earth Monarch is a golden sign. It can't be wrong. Even if it is a good talent, achieving it is not necessarily possible. It means that those who break through to the 9 Refinement Earth Monarch, no matter how trashy their race is, cannot be an evil existence. Some of the elders who did not think much of the human race did not look good, especially Elder Xuan Tian, who was extremely unhappy with the human race, but now it is not good to say something sarcastic. Some things cannot be refuted, such as 9 Refinement Earth Monarch. I heard that you have finished Heavenly Venerable Road. I wonder what reward you got on Heavenly Venerable Road. Elder Xuan Tian went straight to the point. This was the most important thing for them. Although 8 geniuses successfully passed the Heavenly Venerable Road, it was embarrassing that there was no part of the Heavenly Spring God territory, not even the other 4 God territories. Those were all from 3rd grade God territory or some geniuses who came in after paying a price. To put it bluntly, Tianyun is the first Heavenly Spring God territory disciple who can complete the Heavenly Venerable Road. This honor is desirable. Obtain a bit of martial arts recipe. Tianyun said half-truthfully. He couldn't say that he didn't get anything. With so many pairs of eyes watching, if he said he didn't get anything, who would believe it? He would be seen through, mainly when he used it in the future. So he just admitted it. He would get 5 books if he didn't say it out. What is it? Take it out and take a look. Elder Xiao Tian's eyes lit up. Elder, it is impossible for me to take it out. When I took this inheritance, I already made a vow. I cannot reveal it at all. Tianyun replied, neither humble nor pushy. Tianyun has already thought of how to answer. Among these elders, there is no lack of people who eat meat and do not spit bones. Chapter 1136. Tianyun's explanation made many elders deeply agree this situation is not strange. If you can casually spread the martial arts, the name engraved on the cliff, you will know how many people have this inheritance. These people who have received the inheritance, if they can spread it, have already spread it. In fact, there is no news at all, and the evidence is clear that there is no way to spread it. This is impossible to spread, you can roughly tell the situation inside. Elder Go Huang is a little interested in the inside of Heavenly Venerable Road. The other elders looked over with interest in their eyes. Elder Xiao Tian's eyes became gloomy as if he was thinking about something. On the other hand, I encountered the divine sense of Heavenly Venerable, which is generally meant to recruit disciples. Whoever can climb to the finish line and pass the test can become his registered disciple. In the future, if he breaks through to the Heavenly Venerable, he can become an official disciple. Tianyun answered truthfully. This wasn't a secret. Moreover, they wouldn't believe it if they didn't say it out loud. He noted that it was impossible to take a detour inside. No one would think it. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's in-name disciple. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They looked at each other in dismay. They didn't think that there would be such a background there. Because they didn't have any disciples that climbed to the end, they had never known the truth of this place. It was indeed a type of sorrow. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, I have heard of this Heavenly Venerable. He is an extremely famous Heavenly Venerable. Among so many Heavenly Venerable, he isn't the strongest. At the very least, he is ranked in the top 5. One of the elders said in a deep voice. Top 5 Heavenly Venerates. Everyone's eyes narrowed. To them, a Heavenly Venerate was something they could only hope for. Even if they broke through to the Heavenly Venerable realm, they would most likely be at the bottom. A Heavenly Venerable, Hao Han, could rank in the top 5 Heavenly Venerables. This was something that no one could imagine how strong the top 5 Heavenly Venerable were. A Heavenly Venerable was already strong enough to enter the top 5. It could be seen how strong they were. Tianyun narrowed his eyes. He didn't expect his master to be so unique. He can be said to be one of the top 5 Heavenly Venerables. So, heaven-stealing divine land is established by Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Elder Go Huang and the others finally knew the situation. Yes, heaven-stealing land is done by Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, and in so many God territories, he didn't only let one heaven-stealing divine land, but several heaven-stealing divine land, to choose a disciple. Tianyun said. Tianyun explained. The elders suddenly understood what was going on. So that's how it is. You have become Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's registered disciple. Elder Go Huang and the others' eyes brightened. Yes, this disciple has become the registered disciple of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han, but the disciple still needs to break through to the Heavenly Venerable to become the official disciple of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Tianyun said, so you are the registered disciple. I thought you had become an official disciple, just a registered disciple. As long as you have not broken through to the Heavenly Venerable, you are not an official disciple, it is a waste of time. Elder Xiao Tian leaned on the chair and felt full of disdain. The difference between an official disciple and a registered disciple is too significant. The life and death of an in-name disciple has nothing to do with Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. This means that even Master can't be found. How can he be a backer? Only an official disciple can enjoy this kind of treatment. If he becomes an official disciple, it can be said to be a walk in the park. Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he smiled slightly. Yes, a disciple is stupid. Through hard work, I barely got an in-name disciple and became the first in Heavenly Spring God territory. I can reach the end and become an unnamed disciple. How dare you? Elder Xiao Tian's face sank. He slammed the table and growled, what do you mean by this? Yi Tianyun's words are valid. The registered disciples do not have any backers, but at least they are the number one in Heavenly Spring God territory. It is better than Elder Xiao Tian's side. Not a single person has successfully reached the finish line. Wouldn't that be even more trashy? Haha. Elder Dong Yun suddenly smiled, looked at Elder Xiao Tian, and said, Elder Xiao Tian, I also want to ask you what you mean. So what if you are an unnamed disciple? At least you have the inheritance of a heavenly venerable master, and you will have a chance to become a heavenly venerable in the future. And Elder Xiao Tian, the unnamed disciple you speak of, is not worth mentioning. I wonder how many disciples you have under you and how many you can successfully reach. Elder Dong Yun couldn't help but quarrel with Elder Xiao Tian. Yi Tianyun is his disciple, he must be biased towards his disciple. Moreover, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to obtain such a great honor. This Elder Xiao Tian was still mocking him from the side. If his disciple had finished his heavenly venerable Tao, he would probably have already told everyone. How could he still feel that it was meaningless? Elder Dong Yun, this is a matter of fact. Do you think breaking through to the heavenly venerable is so easy? Even if you obtain the inheritance of the heavenly venerable, you might not be able to break through to the heavenly venerable. Elder Xiao Tian said coldly. That is true. At the very least, there is a great chance for you to break through to the heavenly venerable compared to others. Elder Dong Yun retorted coldly as well. All right, stop arguing. Elder Go Huang looked at them and said in a low voice, it's already quite good to obtain the inheritance of a heavenly venerable. We must increase our cultivation and let our disciples walk the path of a heavenly venerable. When we reach the end, we can obtain the inheritance of a heavenly venerable. What a pity. If we could leave, that would be for the best. A god monarch's cultivation could not walk the heavenly venerable road. The heavenly venerable road also had restrictions. If one's cultivation was too high, they could not leave. If they could go, they estimated that they would be able to finish walking the heavenly venerable road. Elder Xiao Tian's eyes lit up. In that case, can the distribution of the jade pendant be divided a little more? Elder Xiao Tian, didn't you say you weren't interested? Isn't it just an unnamed disciple? It's not like you're an official disciple. What's the use of taking it? Elder Dong Yun returned the question. Elder Xiao Tian's face was ashen as he said in a deep voice, Elder Dong Yun, I'm thinking for my disciple. Didn't Elder Go Huang just say that even if it's an unnamed disciple, it's at least a heavenly venerable inheritance? I want my disciple to see the world. Is that not okay? Yi Tianyun listened and shook his head. This Elder Xiao Tian is sour. When it is his turn to have a chance, he is like a dog and immediately rushes up. Okay, everything is up to you. Elder Dong Yun looked at Yi Tianyun and nodded, indicating that he would never let Yi Tianyun suffer any grievances with him here. Yi Tianyun smiled. With this kind of elder protecting him, this is the absolute master, and he is not afraid to fight with other elders, and sometimes it is good to protect him. Chapter 1137. Elder Dong Yun will help Yi Tianyun get back at him. Although Yi Tianyun is not good at arguing with the elders, he is an elder, he does not care about these things at all. Elder Go Huang felt helpless, but Elder Xiao Tian was too much. Elder Xiao Tian saw Elder Dong Yun's attitude and was about to explode angrily. He immediately thought of something and said, by the way, I almost forgot to say, I am ready to go to the Imperial Palace tournament. I wonder if Elder Dong Yun will let Tianyun and Dijun fight. After going through the Heavenly Venerable Road, his ability should not be bad. If he does not go on stage, wouldn't it be a pity? Yi Tianyun frowned. He didn't know what Elder Xiao Tian was planning and why he suddenly brought up the palace competition, but the palace was going to have a competition recently, which was the refining competition. There has always been this rule, and it is not because he came that he has it. He just joined not long ago and has not mastered the ability of Divine Construct Palace. How can he participate so quickly? Elder Dong Yun immediately retorted. Yi Tianyun has just joined, and he hasn't wholly familiarized himself with the Divine Construct Palace, so he was pulled to heaven-stealing divine land. This means that even the Divine Construct Palace's proud forging martial arts have not mastered anything, and it is undoubtedly very disadvantageous for him to participate. It is undeniable that the inheritance of the Heavenly Venerable Road is not evil. He didn't know what Elder Dong Yun had, but it was not a forging martial art. Heavenly Venerable Hao Han does not specialize in forging but mainly in combat strength. This means that he does not take any of the 3 significant professions into account. That is true, but there is still some time left. Since this is Heavenly Venerable Hao Han's in-name disciple, he must be very talented, right? If he doesn't even dare to participate in this, wouldn't he be ashamed of this title? Elder Xiao Tian began to praise Yi Tianyun. It would be a shame for Heavenly Venerable Hao Han if he didn't participate. What do you mean a little bit of time? It's only less than a month or 2. How can I learn it? Elder Dong Yun was furious. Elder Xiao Tian, this is a public revenge. What public revenge? I just want to see his potential. Elder Dong Yun, you can't say such nonsense. Elder Xiao Tian smiled at Yi Tianyun and said, how about it, Lord Tianyun? Are you willing to accept this challenge? Don't worry, even if you lose, it doesn't matter. Anyway, you just want to try and gain more experience. Yi Tianyun looked at him and smiled. Elder Xiao Tian, well said, then I will participate, you can rest assured. He didn't know what Elder Xiao Tian was thinking, but what was the problem with participating in this? It was not a problem for him at all. Good. Elder Xiao Tian laughed loudly, his eyes full of success. He immediately looked at him and said, this is what we call having ambition. Everyone has heard it, Earth Monarch Tianyun and the others will participate. Elder Dong Yun, you can't not let him participate. Elder Dong Yun's face sank, he didn't expect Yi Tianyun to take the bait. Don't worry, since he agreed, he will participate. Elder Dong Yun said in a deep voice. With your promise, it will be fine. Elder Xiao Tian's gaze was ice cold as if he had already seen the result. Elder Go Huang felt very helpless at the side. These 2 elders had always been fighting each other, never stopping. Let me in, let me in. At this time, shouts came from outside. What's going on outside? Elder Go Huang frowned inside. They were in a meeting. Why was it so noisy outside? Elder. At this time, a familiar figure rushed in from outside. Yi Tianyun turned his head and saw that this guy was not the same Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun who had been left far behind by him before. He also called himself Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun. Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun. When many elders saw him, they all recognized him. Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun has good talent. Among the many Heaven Monarchs, he can be regarded as one of the top because his talent is good, and his status is naturally not bad, so he let him enter the Elder Palace. It was just that no matter how good his status was, he could not casually barge in, or it would be disrespectful to an elder. Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun, what is it? Elder Go Huang frowned. He felt Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun was a little rude, but he still suppressed his temper and asked what he wanted to say. Otherwise, why would he be in such a hurry? You came back. When Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun saw Yi Tianyun, he told Elder Go Huang, Elder Go Huang, I heard that he has successfully reached the Heavenly Venerable Road. I suspect that he used a treasure or something the elders gave him. I think it is a bit strange, so I came here to ask. Yi Tianyun was speechless. He had seen stupid people but had never seen such silly people. The elders looked at each other, not knowing what he meant, and immediately looked at Elder Dong Yun, wanting to see what Elder Dong Yun said. Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun, are you joking? If I had such a treasure, why wouldn't I give it to others but a new disciple? Elder Dong Yun's face sank, thinking Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun was joking. But, if he has no treasure, how can he climb the Heavenly Venerable Road? Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun looked at Yi Tianyun and said in a deep voice, and he is a human, he must have used some kind of treasure. Even if the elder does not give it, he can only climb up using this treasure himself. So I hope he will hand over the treasure and let the disciples share it. He can't be selfish. This is for the development of the Heavenly Spring God territory. What Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun said was magnificent, directly rising to the entire Heavenly Spring God territory, making Yi Tianyun feel like crying. He thought these elders were enough to make things difficult for him, but he did not expect that the one who would make things difficult for him would be this idiot. Under these words, many elders looked at Yi Tianyun with a strange expression, not knowing how Yi Tianyun could explain. I think that this treasure is heaven-defying. I don't even know what kind of treasure it is that can completely suppress the grand formation set up by Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. If it is, why don't I take it? Yi Tianyun retorted indifferently. What Heavenly Venerable Hao Han? Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun didn't know the reason and felt it was a bit strange. Elder, Heaven Monarch Zhang Yun is a bit delusional. I think everyone will go into heaven to steal the divine land. Do you think I have a treasure that can even suppress Heavenly Venerable Hao Han? Yi Tianyun felt very ridiculous. In his opinion, Heaven Monarch Xianxia is just humiliating himself. Everything was over, but now he came to make trouble. Isn't this embarrassing for the elders? So many elders don't have a treasure, thinking that Tianyun has it. It is like saying that the elders are useless, they can't even find this kind of treasure. What are they doing? Chapter 1138. The most ignorant thing about Heaven Monarch Xianxia is that he didn't know anything and directly came to make trouble. He was angry with Tianyun. When he learned he had returned, he immediately questioned him. Who knew that when he asked this, the result was that his face was swollen? If Tianyun had a treasure that suppressed Heavenly Venerable Road, he would have flown into the sky. Heavenly Venerable How Han sets that up. It needs at least a high-grade Heavenly Dao level treasure or even a higher level treasure to suppress it. Tianyun can have this level of treasure. Even if there is this kind of treasure, if the cultivation is too weak, it is impossible to display the effect. At least so many elders do not have this kind of treasure. They all know how powerful Heavenly Venerable Road is. It is ultimately a test of Dao's heart. To suppress this illusion, the treasure needed is more precious. Among so many treasures, the most precious type was the type to suppress illusions. After all, when one cultivated to the end, there would be a tribulation of heart demos. Having a treasure that could suppress heart demos or illusions was extremely difficult. Assuming that a treasure of the same level as a high-grade rebirth level treasure could suppress heart demos, it was comparable to 2 or 3 other treasures of the same level. This was its preciousness. Thus, when these words came out of Heaven Monarch Xianxia's mouth, they were already spat out as incredibly brainless. Saying such words would be humiliating when one does not know the situation. This Heavenly Venerable Road was set up by the Heavenly Venerable. Only then did Heaven Monarch Xianxia realize what he said. If not for a treasure the elder gave, Tianyun wouldn't have this treasure. It means that from the beginning to the end, he was the one who thought Tianyun was cheating. Heaven Monarch Xianxia, you broke into the Council of Elders without permission. The question you said is extremely ridiculous. Elder Go Huang's expression became serious. Now, I will sentence you to be imprisoned in the Reflection Tower for 2,000 years. During this period, you cannot come out half a step. If you sneak out half a step, the time will increase by another 2,000 years. Elder Rui Feng, I wonder if you agree to my punishment. Elder Rui Feng was the master of Heaven Monarch Xianxia, so he naturally had the right to ask about this matter. I agree to Elder Go Huang's punishment. Elder Rui Feng said expressionlessly. In his heart, he did not know how many times he had scolded Heaven Monarch Xianxia. He wanted to protect him. However, this Heaven Monarch Xianxia was too stupid. If he wanted to cause trouble outside, he would be fine. However, there were rules. He absolutely could not barge into the meeting of the elders without permission. Unless there was a crucial matter, who knew that the things that happened would be extremely childish. This made everyone suspect that a donkey had kicked Heaven Monarch Xianxia's head. He had gone crazy in front of so many elders. Even if he wanted to die, he should not do this, right? Elder Rui Feng, when Heaven Monarch Xianxia opened his mouth and wanted to shout something, the guards surrounded him, wanting to drag him into the Reflection Tower. Go and think about it properly. Don't be so impulsive in the future. Elder Rui Feng sighed. His disciple's talent was not bad, but his brain was not very good. No, don't. Heaven Monarch Xianxia cried out in pain. He would be dragged into the Reflection Tower for 2,000 years. He was going crazy. 2,000 years was not long, but he had been trapped in a place all this time. A genius like him, running around and enjoying that respectful gaze, would be unhappy. Elder Rui Feng did not even look at him. This was the only thing he could do. What could he do? Elders, I'm sorry. Heaven Monarch Xianxia has recently encountered a bottleneck in his cultivation. That's why he made such a joke. I hope all of you elders do not mind. Elder Rui Feng stood up and apologized. As his master, he was willing to clean up his disciple's mess. It's fine. Elder Go Huang waved his hand and continued, since you have chosen to participate in the palace tournament, I look forward to your performance. You have obtained the inheritance of a Heavenly Venerable. I hope that you will cultivate well in the future. If there are any problems, you can come to me. Elder Go Huang's last sentence is crucial. His position is very high here, equivalent to being Tianyun's backer, who dares to provoke him. Thank you, Elder Go Huang. Tianyun stood up and thanked him. After that, they left. Initially, they wanted to discuss Tianyun's situation and the kind of treatment they wanted to give. Now, it seems that they have to observe for the time being. Before Elder Xiao Tian left, he looked at Yi Tianyun with a sneer. I didn't expect you to finish the Heavenly Venerable Road. It's incredible. Elder Dong Yun praised Yi Tianyun, which made him proud. I don't know if I can finish it. It's all luck. Yi Tianyun said humbly. If this is luck, then everyone else is unlucky. Elder Dong Yun smiled, and then his face became serious. But there is one thing. You are too impulsive. I know you are good, but in the palace competition, this is too impulsive. It seems that the palace attaches great importance to this competition. Yi Tianyun looked at Elder Dong Yun's expression and knew the matter was not straightforward. More than that, this is related to the changes in the palace camp, and many elders and even domain lords come to watch. Especially territory lords, they are often elusive, but the palace competition will appear. If you perform poorly, the territory lord will not appreciate it, and then you will be a wall for yourself. Elder Dong Yun shook his head and said hatefully, Elder Xiao Tian, I just wanted to kill you. I wanted you to make a fool of yourself in front of the territory lord, that's why I did this. So that's how it is, there is still the territory lord to watch. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. There was no territory lord in today's meeting. That's right, the palace tournament usually sends the most outstanding 3 people to compete with each other. You have one now, and the other are Huo Lian and Yu Long. The other party will send the most outstanding one. It is complicated to compete. Each person has a powerful demonic flame, and the ability to control fire is first class. Elder Dong Yun said in a deep voice, especially that forging technique, it has reached the level of supernatural craftsmanship and forged a superb weapon. Weapons have always been the most important, so the territory lord is extremely concerned about the palace tournament. Yi Tianyun nodded. No wonder the territory lord personally came to watch. If the outstanding geniuses were raised, the heavenly spring god territory weapons would be settled. Elder Dong Yun, I wonder if there is a water attribute core in the heavenly spring god territory. Yi Tianyun asked the main point. Water attribute core, of course, there is, and it is specially divided to become a territory lord temple. Elder Dong Yun said, I wonder if I can go in and cultivate. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. There is a chance. This is a bit difficult. Unless I get the approval of the territory lord, it is complicated to go in, even if I have to go through the heavenly venerable road. Elder Dong Yun shook his head and said, the personality of the territory lord is hard to fathom. No one knows what he is thinking. What if I get good results in the palace competition? Yi Tianyun asked. If you can get a good result and get the appreciation of the territory lord, then naturally, there will be no problem. Good, then you can get a good result. Yi Tianyun smiled. This time, he would fight. He must condense a water planet to break through to the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. Otherwise, he really can't break through. This palace competition is the best opportunity. Chapter 1139. You want to go to the core to cultivate. Elder Dong Yun looked at him from head to toe and asked in confusion, don't you have demon fire? Why do you want to go there to cultivate? Generally, those with demon fire had more or less a fire attribute physique. Even if they did not have a fire attribute physique, they couldn't be able to contact water attribute energy. After all, these two were in conflict, and there was no way for them to be connected. Yes, this disciple plans to go there to cultivate. Although it is a water attribute, it still benefits me. Yi Tianyun explained. He did not say he would go to the water core to cultivate and break through to the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. If he had said it out loud, even Elder Dong Yun would have thought he was an idiot. How could there be a 10 refinements Earth Monarch? The 10 refinements Earth Monarch does not exist. For so many years, it has been deeply rooted in the heart. Even many heavenly venerates think it is impossible to have a 10 refinements Earth Monarch. Hence, he could not be bothered to say more. However, if not for the fact, no one would believe there was a 10 refinements Earth Monarch. If you need it, you must obtain exceptional results in the Divine Construct Palace competition. Otherwise, the Territory Lord would not have allowed you to cultivate at the water core. Elder Dong Yun said, no problem, I will work hard to obtain exceptional results in the competition. Yi Tianyun nodded. He initially thought that he would be able to enter smoothly through the Heavenly Venerable Road. From Elder Dong Yun's words, he understood that the situation of the Territory Lord was not simple. Just relying on this, the Territory Lord would not allow it at all. Alright, I'll take you to solve the blacksmithing technique of our Divine Construct Palace now. Elder Dong Yun said sincerely, now the situation is urgent, you must cultivate a lot. You don't have much time, only less than 2 months. During this time, you have to add more time to cultivate. Immediately, under the lead of Elder Dong Yun, they returned to Divine Construct Palace. He didn't directly take Yi Tianyun to the scripture pavilion but directly took him into the Divine Blacksmithing Hall. He just arrived at the Divine Blacksmithing Hall. The flames here are much higher than the outside. If ordinary people come in, they will probably be burned to death. Even an ordinary star monarch will not be able to last long. Dang 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 dang. As soon as Yi Tianyun entered, he saw a big man holding a giant hammer in his hand and smashing it repeatedly, refining the melted liquid into a perfect weapon. On the other hand, there are other blacksmithing techniques, such as directly smashing it with his hand, using the most straightforward and crudest way to refine the impurities, and finally leaving the essence. Another is void refining, using his own star power to refine the impurities inside. There are many different ways, all with various effects. Everyone stopped for a moment. Elder Dong Yun clapped his hands to signal everyone to stop. Soon enough, Heaven Monarch Huo Lian and the others surrounded Yi Tianyun. When they saw him, they were all surprised. Junior brother is back. How does it feel to go to heaven-stealing divine land? That's right, we were too focused on forging weapons now. We didn't even know that junior brother had returned. Quickly tell us, what is the situation in the heaven-stealing divine land? That's right, we have never been to the heaven-stealing divine land. We don't even know what it feels like. They surrounded him and were extremely curious about the heaven-stealing divine land. As they prepared to participate in the Divine Construct Palace competition, they all cultivated here. Furnaces surrounded this place, which was undoubtedly an excellent place to forge weapons. Well, let's talk about these things later. Now we have to talk about something more serious. Immediately after Elder Dong Yun told them the general story, everyone was shocked. They all looked at Yi Tianyun and felt slightly incredible. Originally, 3 main forces were arranged: Huo Lian, Yu Long, and Ji Shui. Now, Ji Shui cannot be the main force for now. Elder Dong Yun shook his head. To participate in the Divine Construct Palace tournament, Heaven Monarch, Ji Shui worked very hard to win the honor, but now Yi Tianyun has taken the place. How can he not comfort him? In the tournament of Divine Construct Palace, only 3 people are sent. The rest can only watch from the side or cheer, so each time, only 3 people can be sent, at most 3 times, cannot participate. Only 3 people can be sent. If the Territory Lord wants to improve, the Territory Lord personally comes to watch. If the level of the disciple is ordinary, it will make the Territory Lord unhappy. Heaven Monarch Ji Shui narrowed his eyes, and he did not expect to hear this result. Immediately, he looked at Yi Tianyun and said in a deep voice, "Junior brother, tell me how you feel at this moment. I will try my best to treat you, I will never drag you down." Yi Tianyun said in a deep voice. "Good, this is enough. I will participate in it next time. This opportunity is yours." Heaven Monarch Ji Shui said in a deep voice, "If I find out that you don't treat me well, then don't blame me for being impolite. This is a severe competition, you use all your strength or don't participate, and there is no third choice." He will undoubtedly be angry if he finds out that Yi Tianyun is not paying enough attention. Senior brother Ji Shui, if this happens, there is no need for senior brother Ji Shui to speak. I will take the initiative to leave Divine Construct Palace. Yi Tianyun said firmly, "This is what I will do next, so I will do my best to be responsible for my actions." The others were delighted with Yi Tianyun's words. Yi Tianyun's previous performance was good, and he could see the other people's level, but he knew nothing about blacksmithing, so naturally, he would be worried. However, seeing that Yi Tianyun is so confident, they won't be disappointed, and even if they lose, they will at least treat him seriously. For the rest of the time, you will cultivate here. If there is anything you don't understand, just ask them. Elder Dong Yun said, "You can also ask me. The forging skills are all on the side, you can go and see. There are many books on the side, all related to blacksmithing. Compared to reading a dead book, it is more straightforward to look at the forging skills of other senior brothers." Elder Dong Yun was well aware of the problem, so he directly asked Yi Tianyun to observe the blacksmithing of other senior brothers. Under normal circumstances, it is insulting to watch others blacksmithing. Since they are fellow disciples, it is customary to observe. The key is that there is not enough time. Elder Dong Yun hopes that he can improve faster. His ability to control fire is good, and his demon fire is good. With these as the premise, it is not difficult to improve. No problem, sorry to trouble you, senior brothers. Yi Tianyun said with a cupped fist. No trouble, junior brother, we won a lot of star stones. Yes, what is there to trouble? You must get good results in the competition. Even if you can't get the front row, at least make Elder Xiao Tian sick. They have no complaints, especially since the fact has happened. The best way is to make Yi Tianyun improve faster. Chapter 1140. In the following time, Yi Tianyun took those forging skills and looked at them individually, basically 10 lines at a glance. With the help of the investigating eye, he frantically scanned the content into his brain bag and firmly remembered it. This content is of great help to him. Although he was a first-grade divine forging master and belonged to a relatively high stage, his comprehensive ability was not very high. When he read the blacksmithing skills here, he found that his learning was the foundation. The system provided only a foundation, and many things needed to be filled up. This was just like the advanced package provided by the premise. It was just an essential ability, not a very heaven-defying thing. Now, he was hungry and thirsty to absorb the experience here, constantly strengthening himself, and with the guidance of other senior brothers, he cultivated faster. He knew that if he wanted to obtain this victory, he still needed to learn many things, so he had to work harder to cultivate. I almost forgot, I still have an upgrade package here. Only now did he remember that he still had an upgrade package that had not been opened. When he came to God's territory, he had given it to him. However, it would require 9 refinements Earth Monarch to open it. After breaking through, there were too many things to do, so he forgot to open it for a moment. Immediately, he found a place to sit down and pretended to study carefully. Open the 9 refinements Earth Monarch upgrade package. Ding! Open the 9 refinements Earth Monarch upgrade package. Get 300 experience cards, 100 crazy point cards, 100 mastery cards, 100 sin point cards, and Heavenly Venerable upgrade package only open when you reach the level of Heavenly Venerable. Deducting 1 billion crazy point, 50 million sin point, starting to upgrade data. In an instant, a large chunk of his data was deducted. The data that he had earned with great difficulty was directly dug up. Although he could not use it for the time being, it was still excruciating to have a large chunk of it dug up. Ding is starting to upgrade body data. When the system notification popped up, he suddenly felt the energy in his body start to change. Especially the energy in his body seemed to be rapidly evolving. And his body, he thought that his body had become highly compatible. He felt that he could absorb any energy. Previously, he could absorb other energy, but it was not as smooth as now. It was as if he had turned into an omnipotent body. Ding! Successful upgrade of body ability, become Heavenly Tao Divine Body, can absorb all the energy into your use, regardless of any attribute or energy. At the same time, you can turn it into anybody, making yourself more compatible with martial arts and energy. Ding! Beginning to upgrade experience data. Ding! Successfully upgrade data. Experience data is compressed. 1 experience point is equivalent to 1 billion points. At the same time, the experience can be given to anyone, turning into energy to help them upgrade. Bestowal great technique. Please use it according to the other party's situation so as not to cause the other party to explode. Crazy and crime values are also compressed and cannot be converted to others but can be converted to each other. Ding! Beginning to upgrade the data of the store. Successfully upgrade the store's data to increase the store's function. If the item is sold once, the same thing will appear in the store to buy. Ding! Beginning to upgrade favorability data. Ding! Successfully upgraded favorability data, accurately separating male and female data, whether it is favorability or loyalty, can see the detailed data. Ding! Upgrade complete. Closing square bracket dot. Yi Tianyun faced this pile of data and was immediately shocked. He thought he would give the data package, but now he found that not only did he provide the experience card, but his data in the whole face were upgraded again, just like when he first came here, everything changed. For example, when the body is transformed into the Heavenly Tao Divine Body, it can contain all the energy and transform into each other. It was simply a heaven-defying constitution. It meant that there would be no conflict when he absorbed other energies. Moreover, the experience data was simply heaven-defying. He could train his little brother well. He could send the experience over. If he smashed it, wouldn't his level rise crazily? He had gained so much experience, but his cultivation level was low. He didn't need so much knowledge. If he smashed it, he could immediately rise dozens of levels. especially his pets, which were easier to upgrade. When he returns, he can also help Shi Shuiyan and others improve their cultivation and strengthen themselves. Regarding the junior brothers' training, this is simply a divine help. Moreover, they can also convert energy to each other, which makes him very shocked. This means that proficiency can be converted into crazy points or sin points. Everything is opened up. This way, where it is lacking, it can transfer extra, which is a highly humane effect. Finally, the favorability effect can be upgraded. He thinks this is quite suitable. When he turned his head to look at senior sister Huo Lian, the detailed data came out. Love, 50 points, favorability, 100 points, loyalty, 50 points, 100 points to complete, 50 points to pass. He then looked at senior brother Yu Long, favorability, 100 points, loyalty, 50 points. This time, he lost his love. If a man like him, it would be a ghost. However, this loyalty of 50 points meant that he was still trustworthy. If he reached 100 loyalty points, he would need to deepen the situation. However, this loyalty meant that he would still betray him. However, he would stab him in the back if he were better than those who were at least 20 or 20 points. These data used to be favorable impressions, even if it was barely enough, but now it is completely divided in detail. Providing data at this time means that he will be able to see many things in the future. Although the previous favorability is high, it doesn't mean they will not betray. Loyalty is the only one, and there will be no change in a high state. Under the mark of loyalty, as long as it reaches 100 loyalty points, it will not drop directly. Unless Yi Tianyun does something that makes them sick, such as stealing their wife or something like that, they will not fall. This is an auxiliary, unimportant item, but it is always better than nothing. The most helpful thing is still the first 3 o'clock, such as the mall mode, which makes his eyes light up. Sell the things he needs to repurchase them. This sounds amazing. Long ago, he had been looking for soul accumulating grass everywhere. Now, he was no longer worried about it. As long as he found one, he could sell it in the store. Then, he would be able to buy it crazily. It was expensive, but he didn't need to look around for it. This upgrade is too amazing. 1 billion crazy points, worth. Yi Tianyun nodded, which made him look even more forward to the Heavenly Venerable upgrade package. Chapter 1141. Yi Tianyun was very surprised. This was a surprise. He had been busy before, but now he opened the gift package. He didn't expect so many surprises. However, after the surprise, he still needs to cultivate honesty, but under the Heavenly Tao Divine Body, he can strengthen his attribute ability. He can directly turn himself into a fire attribute physique, the effect of which is comparable to the Sacred Flame Body, which is a first-class physique. Little brother, what is there that you don't understand? Is that so? If you have any questions, remember to ask. Don't just stand there like a fool. Yes, remember to ask, don't force yourself. When they saw Yi Tianyun, they felt very strange. After all, this is a big matter, and they can't be careless. No, senior brothers, cultivate well, I will just watch from the side. Yi Tianyun didn't try to be brave, but with the help of the investigating eye, he could already absorb a lot of experience. It can even be said that he can draw according to the gourd and perfectly forge something of the same level as them. Many senior brothers here are first and second grade divine blacksmiths, and the highest is third grade divine blacksmith. For example, Huo Lian is a third grade divine blacksmith. Before this, they were not at this level. Recently, they have made a lot of breakthroughs, reaching third grade divine blacksmith. This is a very amazing talent. If you continue to break through like this, you will soon be close to the elders level. Elder Dong Yun is at the level of 5th grade divine blacksmith, able to forge low-grade heavenly Tao weapons. This can be said to be relatively easy to forge. His real limit is to forge a middle-grade heavenly Tao level, which is amazing. However, the failure rate will be higher to forge a middle-grade heavenly Tao level weapon. Unless he reaches the level of a 6th grade divine blacksmith, the success rate will greatly increase. So it's like this. They looked at each other. Yi Tianyun had been watching from the side. He had never practiced it, so they didn't believe it. Little brother, let's clarify that we are not too assured about your level. You can say it now because we don't know your real level. You can forge a weapon now. Let me see how strong you can be. This will make us feel a little relieved. This is about our honor. We must not be careless. Heaven Monarch Yu Long, as a representative, has to be straightforward. They don't know whether Yi Tianyun understands or pretends to understand, so they must ask clearly. Okay, I will try to refine the middle-grade rebirth weapon that senior brother just refined. Yi Tianyun knows that he must show some skill. Otherwise, they will not be at ease. Let alone them, if it is him, he must know the situation. No problem, let's try a middle-grade rebirth weapon then. Heaven Monarch Yulong nodded. Although a middle-grade rebirth weapon wasn't the limit for stopping water, it could be considered able to display one's level. From this, one could see how skilled it was. They would need to be at a higher level to refine a high-grade rebirth weapon. A second and third grade divine blacksmith could be refined, but the difference in success rate was too great. Immediately, under everyone's eyes, Yi Tianyun took the materials refined by Heaven Monarch Yulong and threw them into the alchemy furnace to refine them. They have seen this level before. Yi Tianyun's fire control level is very high. This is the most important thing to forge. Under the perfect fire control, the materials are quickly refined. This is not difficult. The problem is how to refine the back. Yi Tianyun has been here for a month. There is not much time left to prepare for the Divine Palace competition. Therefore, they are interested in the technique and seeing if it can be cultivated to the peak. Rise. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. He quickly extracted the essence of the inner side and then turned in the air, landing on the iron plate before him. Then, he waved his fist and smashed it. The ability that Heaven Monarch Yulong displayed is to use his fist to forge weapons very rough. Generally, this rough forging method is suitable for the type of forging a giant sword. With every punch, this ball of liquid can be shaped and spread out bit by bit, forming the shape of a giant sword. Such a skilled technique is even better than Heaven Monarch Yulong. Although Yi Tianyun's level is only first-grade divine blacksmith, the level of his burst is no less than that of Heaven Monarch Yulong, who is in second grade. Everyone's eyes lit up. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to be so good to reach such an amazing level. The ability to forge is already better than that of Heaven Monarch Yulong. Although what Heaven Monarch Yulong showed before was not his peak ability, it was close to a lot. Now that Yi Tianyun has demonstrated his ability, it is close to his level, so there is absolutely no problem in participating in the Divine Palace competition. With the final punch, a giant sword was punched out. Although it was only a simple and rough attack, it was not bumpy at all, even very delicate. The surface of this giant sword is very smooth, and it is impossible to have half a fist print. If there is a fist print, how can it be used? This method of forging uses the strength of the first surface to let the material spread out, and then the material is shaken to the point that it is smooth. It's done. Yi Tianyun slapped down, the giant sword bounced up, and after several rounds in the air, it fell into his hand, and then a crisp sound rang out. He immediately handed the giant sword to Heaven Monarch Yulong. This time, he took the place that Heaven Monarch Yulong determined. Not bad, not bad. Your level is even better than mine. If your level were to rise a little further, you would be far superior to me. Heaven Monarch Yulong heaved a sigh of relief and said, in this way, there won't be any problems for you to participate in the Divine Palace competition. That's right. With this level of skill, I was worried for nothing. I thought that junior brother would be embarrassed to ask, but it turns out that he really can watch for a while. I've only seen people who can watch and watch. There's no need to cultivate at all. Junior brother must be of this type. I remember. Isn't junior brother very good at judging people? Then you can also see through our cultivation, so you won't be surprised. They remembered that Yi Tianyun could have seen accurate information before, so it had the same effect on this side. However, this is heaven-defying. Seeing people can see through the door, seeing other people cultivate, the effect can also be seen. This pair of eyes doesn't know how to grow. Yi Tianyun did see it but saw it through the detection eye, otherwise, he had to do it. Chapter 1142. The rest of the time, Yi Tianyun joined in the practice, constantly forging weapons. He was just trying his hand sense, using what he learned to see how effective it was. With the help of the investigating eye, combined with the movements of many people, he has learned most of the forging skills. He does not dare to say everything, at least most of them have been mastered by him. Soon, he welcomed the competition of the Divine Palace, led by Elder Dong Yun. Their group headed to the competition hall of the Divine Palace. When they arrived, it was already a sea of people. Most people sitting in the nearby audience were not from the Divine Palace but from other Divine Palaces. Divine Palace is a treasure ground that can forge weapons. They want to see which genius will appear. When the time comes, they can ask someone to help forge it. The price will be much cheaper than outside. Therefore, the Divine Palace is extremely popular among many disciples. Those who came to watch were the Sword Palace or Spear Palace disciples. They hope that they can have a powerful weapon. When they come, the others who can't participate can only go to the audience seats. Only Yi Tianyun, Heaven Monarch Huo Lian and Heaven Monarch Yu Long can enter the venue. Only the participants can join, and the rest cannot enter. There are many people. Yi Tianyun looked around and saw many camps in front of him. There are at least 7 camps, with them, there are 8. Each camp has an elder leading them. This means that there are 8 elders. This is not surprising. They all have God Monarch cultivation. The God territory is so vast. There are too many disciples. They need more elders to teach them. Otherwise, there is no way to keep up with them. There are 8 camps and 3 people in each camp. There are a total of 24 people. They represent the strongest newcomers. Every time the Divine Palace competition, they will send new people. This time is no exception. Yi Tianyun looked around. Most of them are unfamiliar faces. He has never seen them before. Naturally, they are unfamiliar faces. The main point is that they are all at the level of Heaven Monarch. Yi Tianyun is the only one at the level of Earth Monarch. If Elder Xuan Tian had not been so aggressive, Yi Tianyun wouldn't have participated. He has no interest in this and has already decided who to participate. If you want to participate, you have to be at least at the level of Heaven Monarch, not discriminating against the cultivation of Earth Monarch. Still, the cultivation of Heaven Monarch is more mature. Therefore, his appearance immediately became the target of everyone's attention. Among so many Heaven Monarchs, only one was at the level of an Earth Monarch, which was surprising. There is an Earth Monarch among the participants this time. The cultivation level is vague, and I can't tell what level it is. That's right, it's an Earth Monarch cultivation competition. This is amazing. Is there any amazing power? It seems he is still a human. It's really strange. Even a human race is participating, and his cultivation is also an Earth Monarch. It is really confusing. Everyone began to discuss. The original topic was the Divine Palace, and now the subject of discussion has shifted to Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun's identity and cultivation are special. How can he not attract attention? This kid is finally here. I want to see what he can learn in the past few months. When Elder Xuan Tian saw Yi Tianyun, he immediately smiled. He thought Yi Tianyun was a fool, but Elder Dong Yun was even more stupid. He let Yi Tianyun go on stage. If Elder Dong Yun doesn't let Yi Tianyun go on stage, he doesn't think there is a problem. He would rather let Yi Tianyun lose face than let himself lose face. This is the whole camp, but Elder Dong Yun still sent Yi Tianyun on stage. How can he not be a fool? Master, is this human boy who made you lose face? A handsome young man beside him looked at Yi Tianyun with cold eyes. Yes, he defeated your junior brother and made me lose face. Elder Xuan Tian gritted his teeth and said, in this competition, all of you have to perform well and let them lose even more miserably. Master, haven't they lost miserably enough in the past? Heaven Monarch Shu Bo's eyes were filled with mockery. Thinking about it, it makes sense. All along, their results have always been average. This time, I don't know where their luck came from, but they ran into 2 outstanding disciples who were not bad. However, compared to you guys, they are still a step behind. Elder Xuan Tian sneered, no matter what, you will suppress them in the competition. That's for sure. Not only will you suppress them, but you will also suppress everyone. They laughed, filled with confidence as if they had some kind of secret weapon. While everyone was talking about them, Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent, not nervous. This is nothing for him to be anxious about. As for the eyes of others, he does not care. This is not a problem for him, he has long been accustomed to it. Junior brother, don't be so nervous and ignore their opinions, prove yourself later. Senior sister Huo Lian comforted him. Senior sister Huo Lian, it's okay. I won't be nervous. Yi Tianyun smiled. It's good that you are not nervous. Just focus on the competition, no matter what others say. Senior sister Huo Lian nodded. Yes, it doesn't matter. Just show your best skill. Senior brother Yu Long also encouraged him. Yi Tianyun nodded and followed them to their camp. They all had a fixed furnace. The furnace was fixed. There was no special furnace, and they could not use their furnace. The only things that could change were their abilities or demon fire. The rest were fixed, such as materials. There would not be any changes. After Elder Dong Yun brought them to the corresponding seats, he went to sit at the side. They were not the ones hosting the competition. Elder Go Huang and the others quickly flew over and took their seats at the front. The most eye-catching center was still empty. Without a doubt, this was the position of the Domain Lord. However, the Domain Lord had yet to appear. It was unknown when he would come. No one dared to complain to the Territory Lord. If they knew, it would be extremely disrespectful. When everyone was discussing when the Territory Lord came over, suddenly, the void was torn open, and a beautiful figure fell from the sky, finally appearing in front of everyone. Chapter 1143. This woman was a Territory Lord, and the Territory Lord was a woman. Although it wasn't strange that a woman was a Territory Lord, it wasn't that they had never seen one before, but they were still extremely rare existences. In this male and female hierarchy, she had a lot of ability to make her sit in the Territory Lord position. Otherwise, even if her talent was higher than many people and her prestige wasn't strong enough, she definitely wouldn't have been able to sit in this position. This is a Territory Lord. Yi Tianyun's eyes lit up. He didn't expect a woman to be a Territory Lord. No wonder Elder Dong Yun said that the Territory Lord is soft but hard to get. Just because she is a strong woman, he knows she depends on her eating ability. If he wants her to nod and agree, he has to show her his true ability. Otherwise, he will not pay attention to her. Territory Lord Lu Li, Peak God Monarch level cultivation. One step away from breaking through to the Heavenly Venerable level. She has an extremely rare Heavenly Water Sacred body. She has a strong affinity for water attribute and has a special talent. Wearing high-grade Heavenly Tao level equipment, she can release extremely strong power. Her overall combat strength is 30 million star force, normal state 30 million star force. This kind of combat strength is rough. No wonder she became a Territory Lord. When Yi Tianyun saw this fighting strength, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. Compared to other elders, it is a few streets away, but he has seen this type of strong woman many times. For example, there is Bai Shuiwang in the mortal world, and Yi Qingshan is one of them, so this is not surprising. Only when one is strong enough to manage many experts, otherwise there is no chance to be promoted. Territory Lord. Many elders stood up and respectfully shouted, including the surrounding disciples, all stood up and dared not sit down. This is their territory, Lord, how can they not get up? Some who had never seen a Territory Lord before could now see their true appearance, especially when they saw that the Territory Lord was a woman. If anyone could marry a Territory Lord, he would have a meteoric rise. Sit down. The Territory Lord nodded lightly, indicating that everyone should sit down. Everyone sat down. After she sat down, her eyes swept over the participants, and she finally stopped at Yi Tianyun. Human. Lu Li Territory Lord was curious. She had seen so many competitions before, this was the first time she saw a human participating. And it's a 9 refinement Earth Monarch. This level is not bad. It's interesting. Territory Lord, this is a new disciple. He has just finished his Heavenly Venerable Road and has received the inheritance of Heavenly Venerable Hao Han. Elder Go Huang stood up to explain. The Heavenly Venerable Road. The Heavenly Venerable Road, are there any survivors here? This is a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect the human race to finish it. It's truly shocking. No wonder they sent someone on stage at the Earth Monarch level. They won't be sent if they don't have the ability. Elder Go Huang was embarrassed. He didn't know how to answer her. Elder Go Huang couldn't have said that Elder Xiao Tian forced him. Yes, we are looking forward to his performance. Elder Go Huang smiled awkwardly. Territory Lord Lu Li nodded slightly and didn't say much. She continued to look around, wanting to see if there were any newcomers. After looking around, she nodded lightly. The Divine Palace competition that happens once every 100 years is for selecting outstanding newcomers and focusing on nurturing them. In the blink of an eye, 100 years have passed. Now, it's your turn to show off your skills. I hope you won't disappoint me. We definitely won't disappoint Territory Lord. They all shouted excitedly. How could they not be excited to show off before the Territory Lord? If the Territory Lord took a fancy to them, it would truly be an explosion. It wasn't that there were no such things. Territory Lord Lu Li had taken a liking to a pretty good disciple before, so they took him to temper himself and then became an elder. Territory Lord Lu Li nodded and smiled faintly. Before the assessment, I'll roughly explain the rewards for this time. Those who obtain the top 3 will receive my guidance. At the same time, I can satisfy a small request of yours. For example, if you want any martial arts or treasures, or if you want to go to heaven-stealing divine land to gain experience, it won't be a problem. Everyone's eyes lit up. Territory Lord Lu Li's reward was truly generous. Apart from giving pointers, there was also a small request. This request could be imagined by oneself. It was already very tempting to provide examples. This kind of reward that wasn't explicitly stated was even more tempting. The group of participants were all excited. At least 3 of them would be able to obtain it. If there was only one, obtaining it would be very difficult. Then prepare to begin the assessment. The content of the assessment will be different every time. Most of the time, it will only be divided into 3 stages. Every time, it will be judged by the score. The lowest score is 0, and the highest is 10. Those who scored, let the elders of Divine Palace evaluate this time. I will not participate in any score evaluation. When this proposal came out, everyone was suddenly shocked. Was there such a scoring method? It must be known that the elders of Divine Palace were hostile to each other. Many allied with each other, but there were more hostile ones. For example, Elder Xiao Tian and Elder Dong Yun were hostile to each other and asked Elder Xiao Tian to give Yi Tianyun a score. Maybe he would give Yi Tianyun a score or a 0. Of course, I hope that everyone will treat this fairly. If you want to give this score, you must give a corresponding reason. If you randomly judge, I think you will know the result. While everyone was discussing, Territory Lord Lu Li added another sentence, causing some elders to plan on giving their opponents a low score to wipe away their cold sweat. Territory Lord Lu Li's half-spoken words caused their hearts to race. It's alright, it's alright. If it were Elder Xiao Tian, he would give us a low score. Heaven Monarch Yu Long heaved a sigh of relief. If they were to give points randomly, they would be done for. But this Lady Lu Li is really beautiful. Heaven Lord Huo Lian is concerned not about the competition but about Territory Lord Lu Li. She is indeed beautiful, but the most important thing is that she can control one side and stand above so many experts with a female character. This is the most eye-catching thing for her. Yi Tianyun commented. Heaven Lord Huo Lian lit up, grabbed Yi Tianyun's arm and said excitedly, "Junior brother, you can talk about sister's heart. This is the model for us female cultivators. We female cultivators have always been low in status. Territory Lord Lu Li is simply our role model. Don't worry, senior sister Huo Lian, you will also have a place in the future." Yi Tianyun smiled. He thought that his power in the mortal realm could be said to be controlled by women. If it were any other power, it would be unimaginable. Chapter 1144. She didn't say too much about the rules. She just gave all the evaluations to the elders of the Divine Palace and let them evaluate them themselves. Apart from being unable to provide their disciples with an assessment, the rest could be assessed. The final average score was their score. It could be said that each faction had 7 evaluations. They determined the score. That's the rule. I won't participate in any scoring. After all, I won't be able to forge any weapons. I won't be able to score this. Although I was the one who made the decisions in the past, I have decided to let the elders make the decisions this time. I will tell the elders in advance if there are any changes this time. This was the first time Territory Lord Lu Li had changed. In the past, she had always been the one to decide the participants' scores. However, her eyesight wasn't bad. She could determine the better weapon, but there was a change this time. Territory Lord Lu Li, why have you changed? Elder Go Huang was rather curious about this. I just feel that some things are better to be changed, especially the contents of the test that I've decided on. There will be a greater change than in previous years. Therefore, I need the assistance of the elders. Otherwise, it will be difficult to evaluate. Territory Lord Lu Li's true opinion was that the change was too great and needed the elders' help. The participants widened their eyes. Could it be that the assessment this time was a bit more perverse? So that's how it is. Then, I'll have to look forward to Territory Lord Lu Li's assessment. The content of each assessment is amazing. Elder Go Huang praised from the side. The other elders all agreed. It wasn't flattery, but the questions from Territory Lord Lu Li were really good. It was amazing. The most important thing was that it would greatly help the assessment. It would test everyone's standards. When these words entered the ears of the participants, they felt a little unsettled. What kind of strange special would Territory Lord Lu Li produce this time? Territory Lord Lu Li smiled and looked at the elders. Then I'll have to trouble the elders of the Divine Palace later. I don't dare to accept it. I don't dare accept it. We are very willing to serve you. The elders of the Divine Palace all agreed. They all knew Territory Lord Lu Li's abilities, so they were naturally willing to serve him and had no objections. Territory Lord Lu Li immediately looked at the many participants and said, "Before the competition begins, let's make a simple rule. We can't interfere with each other. Everything is based on our strengths. If there is a violation, we will be sentenced to 10,000 years in the Reflection Tower." This was harsh. He had been sentenced to 10,000 years in the Reflection Tower but hadn't gone crazy. Of course, this was still considered good. At the very least, it wasn't a direct death sentence. That was the true severity. Everyone nodded. They naturally couldn't interfere with each other during the competition. Although there was a competition, they absolutely couldn't interfere with each other. This was the scope of the rules. This wasn't a competition. There was no need to interfere with each other. There was no need for that. Next, prepare to begin the first test. With a wave of her hand, countless pieces of metal fell from the sky and rained down on them. They quickly threw the iron pieces into the sky and landed beside themselves. They didn't throw the pieces of iron to the side. This was a question given by Territory Lord Lu Li. How could they throw it out? When they received the pieces of iron one after another, they found that these pieces of iron were all very ordinary pieces of iron. They were similar to ordinary black iron in the mortal realm. It could be said that they were everywhere and were very worthless. It could be said that they were similar to the stones outside. This time, Territory Lord Lu Li threw out this piece of iron. Could it be used as a material for forging? Tianyun took the piece of iron and looked around carefully. It was indeed ordinary black iron, without any bright spots. This is the question. Tianyun narrowed his eyes and looked around. He didn't know what Territory Lord Lu Li wanted. He didn't know what question Territory Lord Lu Li would give, but from the looks of it, it was not a simple question. However, thinking about it, if it were too simple, there would be no meaning to give a question. It must be a question with an abnormal point. The harder, the better, so that they can see their level. You all got this black iron. How long have you not seen this black iron? Territory Lord Lu Li looked at them indifferently. Everyone looked at each other awkwardly. Some of them had only looked at it once or not. How could they have seen this kind of scrap metal before? Most of the people present had grown up with gold keys in their mouths. They had never even touched a piece of trash like black iron. At most, they had seen it before. Of course, that didn't mean they didn't know how to forge artifacts. The materials were all the same anyway. If their techniques were strong, then there wouldn't be a problem. I think many of you haven't seen it before. Or perhaps you have. You haven't touched it. Territory Lord Lu Li said calmly, "I know that none of you have ever used this black iron, but I am using something you have never used before as the test subject. Some people know about it, but this does not affect fairness. After all, even if it has never been used, it can be used with just a slight attempt. This is your most basic foundation. If you don't have this foundation, don't stay in the Divine Construct Palace." Everyone's eyes were solemn. These words were indeed true. Even if it were a stone, they must refine it into gold. After all, even if they couldn't, it didn't mean that the others couldn't. The topic of this round is very normal. You will use this black iron as the foundation and combine it with other materials to refine weapons. The higher the grade, the higher the score. First, it is not simply adding black iron into the materials but using black iron as the main material. If the final weapon refined by the black iron is not the main material, then the results will be ineffective. If they were to simply use the black iron to refine weapons, even if the elders of the Divine Construct Palace were to refine it, they would not be able to refine a very high-quality gun. Thus, they had to add materials. However, adding materials was also very important. Not just adding any materials could crazily increase the grade. The capacity of the black iron itself was limited. If some materials were thrown down, the black iron would directly explode. It would be unable to accommodate these overbearing materials. Or other fierce materials would dominate it. For example, adding a higher grade ore would instantly occupy the position of the black iron, and the black iron would undoubtedly be reduced to a supporting role. If he refined it like this, the questions given by Territory Lord Lu Li would naturally lose their meaning. She wanted to create high-grade materials for this fragile piece of iron as much as possible. This was a comprehensive test of their control over fire, understanding of materials, and research on the fusion aspect. Everyone felt pressured for the first stage to have such a difficult problem. Interesting. This is a difficult problem for Territory Lord Lu Li. It is a bit difficult, Yi Tianyun grabbed the black iron and smiled. This is not difficult for him at all. At first, he started forging the black iron, but no one knew this black iron better than him. Chapter 1145. The fragility of the black iron gave many contestants a headache. They could only find out how to refine the best results through continuous attempts. When she saw that the contestants were having a headache, she smiled brightly, as if this was the happiest thing for her. The rules are roughly like this. Since you haven't touched the materials before, you have to give more time. It's half a month, she continued. Everyone nodded. Half a month was enough for them to try. So, the difficulty of refining the most ordinary materials was relatively low. What they needed to do was to try to merge the materials to the extreme. Little brother, you must work hard. Senior sister Huo Lian nodded to Yi Tianyun and encouraged him. Yi Tianyun nodded with a smile. In the face of their concern, he still felt very warm, at least not scheming and scheming. Not long after, the assessment began. Many participants immediately took out the black iron to refine it. They melted the black iron again and again. Then, they threw the materials of a high grade into the mix and began to forge it. Bang, 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 bang. This was just the beginning. There were immediately explosions coming from the side. It meant that someone had directly refined it. The black iron material was too weak. If someone casually smashed it down, it would naturally cause an explosion. The participants were covered in dust from the explosion. However, these were all small explosions. There were no problems at all. It was really embarrassing to refine an explosion among so many people. However, no one will laugh at him. In this period of time, no one will have the time to laugh at others. They all know that they may be the next person to refine the explosion. If they want to try to match the perfect material, they need to refine more. It is very likely that they will also refine the explosion. After all, they need to try where the real limit of the black iron is. Only when they are stuck in the limit can they have a limited space to accommodate more precious materials. Yi Tianyun calmly took out a large pile of black iron, not pieces of them. He does not need to do this at all. From the beginning, he knew where the limit of black iron was. Don't forget, in order to level up, he refined many basic materials. How can he not know the situation of black iron? Only these geniuses who grew up with gold keys will not see the situation of black iron, and need to slowly explore. Under the eyes of everyone, they saw Yi Tianyun quickly refining the materials. A large pile of black iron was quickly melted into molten iron, and then he began to throw the materials into it. Because of the fast technique, most people can't see what it is. Of course, even if you see it, you can't copy it. Although the rules don't say that you can't copy the other party, but whoever does this will definitely be despised. This means that his ability is not good. It is really shameful to copy other people's refining method directly. The rules are not said, but the elders will definitely give low points. Seeing Yi Tianyun so bold to throw the materials, many spectators were shocked. Isn't such a rough method not afraid of explosion? This kid's refining method is really rough. Elder Dong Yun shook his head, only hoping that Yi Tianyun can win this game. Because it is relatively rough, Territory Lord Lu Li quickly noticed that Yi Tianyun is the only one who can be so rough. It can be said that he is absolutely bold enough. The materials thrown in are also extremely rough. The materials thrown in are also not low grade, but it just doesn't explode, and it is extremely perfect to merge inside. Although the material thrown in is similar to the black iron, it can neutralize the rough effect of both sides. On the contrary, it can be integrated into the black iron material with a neutral effect. It seems that I am familiar with the mastery of the material. Territory Lord Lu Li commented from the side. She did not know how to forge artifacts, but that did not mean that she did not know anything. After hosting so many competitions at the Divine Construct Palace, if she did not even know this, she might as well smash her head against the wall. Yes, it seems that he is familiar with the black iron material. Elder Go Huang added, "Tell me about his identity and background." Territory Lord Lu Li was a bit interested in Yi Tianyun. He came from the mortal realm and joined the first-grade God Territory. He won the God Territory's War of Ascending to Heaven and finally joined our Heavenly Spring God Territory. Elder Go Huang thought for a moment and added, "It can be said that they climbed up layer by layer from the bottom of the mortal realm. No wonder they are so familiar with the black iron. So they are cultivators of the mortal realm. To be able to climb from a human cultivator of the mortal realm to a 9 refinement earth monarch, this is truly unimaginable. Territory Lord Lu Li nodded. There was no discrimination in his eyes. Instead, there was a bit of admiration. It's not easy to reach such a high level from the mortal territory. It's amazing to reach this level at such a low starting point. Yi Tianyun threw in the materials again and again. After throwing in more than a dozen materials, he stopped and didn't continue to throw in the materials. After merging into one, a ball of liquid floated in the air, and then he slammed the liquid on the iron plate in front of him, and then began to smash the liquid with a crazy hammer, and began to carry out the final refining. The audience on the side nodded repeatedly, thinking that it was quite good, at least not because his cultivation was low, and he was behind the other participants. Soon, under his crazy hammer, a long sword was forged by him. This kind of rough method was generally used to forge giant swords and giant axes. Who knew that this time it was used to forge a long sword? It was amazing. Under the last heavy punch, Yi Tianyun completely forged the long sword. It seems that there is no special luster on the surface, completely retaining the original black iron effect. It is simple and plain, everything is very low-key. However, under this low-key surface, it is actually a low-grade rebirth level weapon. With black iron as the main weapon, it can actually create a low-grade rebirth level weapon. The difficulty of forging it is definitely not low. Yi Tianyun looked up at Lu Li and said, "Territory Lord Lu Li, disciple has successfully forged it." Everyone was shocked. They thought that Yi Tianyun just wanted to try it first, and then continue to forge the second one to see if he can produce a higher grade. Who knew that he would immediately recognize this weapon as a tool for the competition? The hearts of many elders sank. They didn't expect Yi Tianyun to be so casual. He didn't even want to try it. He directly handed it over. After all, handing it over in advance will not give any additional points. In their opinion, Yi Tianyun is trying to win the eye. So many participants have not finished, but he is the first to complete it. Isn't it to win the eye? Chapter 1146. Yi Tianyun naturally will not choose to complete the first one to win the attention, but he has a deep understanding of black iron, so there is no need to continue to try. No matter how he tries, the standard is like this: unless he uses a more powerful flame, in his opinion, it is already the limit level, and it is difficult to continue to take half a step forward. As for what others think, that is their matter. Yi Tianyun feels that he has tried his best, and even if it is someone else, it is impossible to surpass his level. In the end, this is already the highest level weapon that Black Eye can forge, and unless the proportion of Black Eye is reduced, it is difficult to improve the grade. Only try once. Elder Go Huang frowned, thinking Yi Tianyun was a bit hasty and not serious enough. Everyone else has been trying. Yi Tianyun is enough, and it is puzzling. One time is almost enough. If you know more about this material, then one time is almost the same. Territory Lord Lu Li has a different opinion, and at the same time, he signaled the elders of Divine Construct Palace to go over and check. Every mission should start soon. Although there are not many participants, they are all ready, so naturally, they will check first. Elder Dong Yun cannot participate in the grading following the 7 elders, so he can only watch from the side. Elder Xiao Tian took the lead, came to Yi Tianyun, picked up the long sword, checked it a little, and gently flicked it. The long sword vibrated slightly. The level of forging is not bad, but the grade is a little low. It took so many materials to reach the low-grade rebirth weapon level. Elder Xiao Tian looked at Yi Tianyun and said, "I think it can be a little higher, not the extreme level. I will only give 5 points. Well, we also think the grade is a little low. I think it can at least be refined to middle-grade rebirth. The level of low-grade rebirth is too low. I also give 5 points. The materials are harmonious in all aspects, and the forging method is good, but the grade is too low, give 5 points." Each gave a low score, and the highest was only 6 points. The lowest was 5 points, a passing score. Elder Xiao Tian was highly prejudiced against Yi Tianyun but would still give a suitable score. Territory Lord Louis Li was watching from the side. How could he dare to give a 0 directly? He would be scolded to death. No matter how bad it was impossible to have 0 points unless it was the kind of failed refinement. Bullshit. At this time, Elder Dong Yun shouted angrily from the side, "What kind of grade can be higher?" When the black iron is in the dominant position, to break through the higher limit, not only does it need stronger flames, but it also needs extremely rare materials. The materials provided now are completely not at the level of rare. The weapons refined by the Heaven Monarch can be considered at the highest level. Only 5 points. I am very dissatisfied. Elder Dong Yun jumped out at this time. He was very dissatisfied with this score. Elder Dong Yun, what do you mean by this? Do you think that we are not professional enough? Do you think we can't even determine the limit of the black iron? Elder Xiao Tian said in a deep voice. The other 6 people looked at Elder Dong Yun with dissatisfaction. Elder Xiao Tian did not bribe them. They only said what they wanted to say. That's right, I just want to ask you, have you understood the black iron? Elder Dong Yun said sternly, I think you have never touched it before, just like the participants here. Most of them have never touched it and do not know the limit. I have touched it before, although I do not know it very well. The level of refining from Earth Monarch Tianyun is not low. Elder Xiao Tian and the others were said to have a sore point. They did not carefully understand the material of black iron. Only from observation do they have a little understanding of the situation. For example, Yi Tianyun knows a little about refining and thinks they can take a step higher. Are you going to score now, or will we score? Elder Xiao Tian retorted coldly. He couldn't be bothered to argue with Elder Dong Yun and directly ask the biggest question. The person who scored wasn't Elder Dong Yun. Elder Dong Yun was at a loss for words for a moment. It was indeed not his turn to score now. Interjected was also against the rules. They all looked at Territory Lord, wanting to see what she would say. Elder Dong Yun, if you want to comment, you'll be able to comment on the next contestant, said Territory Lord Lu Li. Territory Lord Lu Li's words meant Elder Dong Yun shouldn't interrupt and just watch from the side. Elder Dong Yun could only remain silent. Elder Xiao Tian's pleased expression finally allowed him to turn the tables. Yi Tianyun looked on coldly. He did not refute, he just stood there. The eyes around him were full of ridicule. They did not expect him to be so tragic. He looked very strong. In the end, he ended up with a low score. Yi Tianyun immediately sat down in the same place. His score was already finished. On average, it was only 5 points. It was too low. Heaven Monarch Ji Shui and others felt it was a pity in the camp. How could he get such a low score? His performance seemed good, but why was his score so low? They were all very unhappy, but they could only accept their fate. With mocking eyes, soon, there were explosions on the side, attracting everyone's attention. One after another, they failed, and it was good to keep it from exploding, not to mention succeeding. As time went by, the explosions became less and less, and they were more and more skilled in refining, but everyone was surprised to find a big problem. No matter how they refine it, the grade is lower than the low-grade rebirth level. Other weapons of the mortal realm level cannot be upgraded to the high level by Yi Tianyun's refining. The 7 elders who had scored before now felt extremely embarrassed. Were they wrong? Now that more than half of the time has passed, the weapons they refined are better than the previous ones, but no one can reach the lower level of reincarnation. However, with a sound, someone successfully refined the low-grade rebirth level weapon, letting them see hope, but soon they were disappointed again. The participants who successfully refined the low-grade rebirth level weapon cannot continue to improve the level when they continued to refine it. After refining repeatedly, the level remains firmly locked on the low-grade rebirth level weapon, and we cannot go up to the next level. This is still good. Among the 24 participants, only a few can successfully refine the low-grade rebirth level weapon. Most of them stay on the other mortal territory rank. This is not a very awkward problem. Yi Tianyun, meditating on the side, does not need to refute anything. The score they give is equivalent to a slap on their face. If Yi Tianyun's score is like this, their score is also the same. Chapter 1147. The time of the competition is getting shorter and shorter. Currently, there are only less than 7 people who can successfully refine a low-grade rebirth level weapon. Yi Tianyun is one of them. Heaven Monarch Huo Lian takes up one of them. Heaven Monarch Yu Long has not refined it for the time being. He is still working hard. All of them are sweating. It is several times more difficult than letting them refine a high-grade rebirth level weapon. Most of them are still lingering at the level of Divine Tool, but they are not called Divine Tool in God territory. Instead, they are called Star Weapons, which are extremely common weapons. All of them are proud sons of heaven, but they are not even as good as Yi Tianyun, who was ridiculed before. The highest grade is to refine Star Weapons. Before, other participants looked at Yi Tianyun and felt that Yi Tianyun was very ridiculous. Now it seems that the one who is really ridiculous is himself. They don't even have the qualifications to laugh at Yi Tianyun. They are all stuck at the star weapon level. No matter how much they refine, they can't get up. Now their head is full of sweat. Their requirements are not high now. They just want to be able to refine low-grade rebirth level weapon. It is enough. Ha ha ha, those participants can only refine star weapon. Junior brother is not the worst, even the best. That's right, I thought junior brother has no chance of winning. Now it seems that little brother is very confident. Elder Dong Yun smiled and looked at Elder Xiao Tian. His face was ugly. The highest score they gave was 6 points, which meant that if they used this score, it could be said that they could not even reach 4 points. Thinking back to what they had said before, they felt extremely awkward. They even thought that they could refine a higher level. Who knew that the highest level was the low-grade rebirth level? What middle-grade rebirth level? What are you guys doing? Hurry up and refine a higher level for me. Elder Xiao Tian gritted his teeth and shouted from the side. Right now, he was urging his disciple to refine a stronger level. Heaven Monarch Shu Bo was drenched in cold sweat. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. This black iron is too trashy. It is even worse than stone. Disciple has tried his best to refine a higher level, but he still can't refine it. The difficulty is too high. Heaven Monarch Shu Bo is already at his limit, unless he is given more time, but in this time, he really can't refine a higher level. Elder Xiao Tian was so angry that he almost exploded. He didn't expect the difficulty to be so high. Yi Tianyun also succeeded in one go. It is obvious that he is familiar with black iron, so he can forge it so quickly. Damn, how can this be? Elder Xiao Tian's expression was extremely ugly. The other elders were also not much better. This was a slap to their own face. Either they had to bite the bullet and continue to beat the score down, or they would change the score again. But if they changed the score again, wouldn't they admit that they were wrong? For a time, many elders were thinking about how to reply more appropriately. Elder Dong Yun laughed from the side. This was to see what they said. It was absolutely impossible to back down. Soon, someone successfully refined it and let the elders score it. This was already their limit. They could only let the elders score it. Elders, what is the score for this weapon? Elder Dong Yun looked at them with a face full of ridicule. Many elders looked embarrassed. This is the second one to let them score except Yi Tianyun. They will not let the elders score until the end. After all, they don't know how high quality they can refine until the end. Maybe in the end, they can refine a higher grade and get higher scores. Who knew how to refine it? It was still the same grade. There were no changes. It proved that it was too difficult to refine a weapon with black iron. It was simply a nightmare. From the level of a star weapon, then 3 points. Elder Xiao Tian braced himself and gave a score. He did not want to be slapped in the face. He would rather be stubborn and get a higher grade than give a higher grade. This way, his face would be swollen from the slap. This was something related to face. They would not admit it no matter what. Yes, yes, yes. The grade is too low. We will also only give 3 points. All of them chose to lie through their teeth. All of them agreed. It was still more important to have face. They were grand elders and so many people were watching. Even Territory Lord Lu Li was watching them from the side. No matter what, they could not lose face. 3 points. Elder Dong Yun snorted. It seems that Elder Xiao Tian's standards are really high. It seems that in order to obtain a high score, one must at least refine the black iron into a high-grade rebirth level weapon. Only then can one obtain a full score, right? Or can one only obtain a full score from other levels of the Heavenly Tao? He did not mind slapping his face at all, especially when Elder Xiao Tian had refuted him earlier. Now, it was his turn to get back at him. Elder Xiao Tian straightened his neck and said, "That's right. Even if it is black iron, it can still be refined into a high-grade rebirth level weapon. It must be treated strictly. That's amazing. Now, Elder Xiao Tian, show me if you can refine a high-grade rebirth level weapon and use these materials." Elder Dong Yun sneered. They provided materials for many participants. They did not need to bring their own materials. Only in this way could they ensure fairness. If someone took out extremely rare materials and threw them in, it would no longer be a strength. It would be a competition of whose wealth was more abundant. Elder Xiao Tian's face sank. Although he knew that his abilities were not small, seeing the situation at the scene, it would definitely be hard for a clever woman to cook without rice. Without high-grade materials, it was impossible to forge a high-grade weapon. Unless it was an extremely heaven-defying technique, such as triggering the heavenly tribulation to temper something, then this was already beyond their scope. There's nothing else to say. Even you can't forge it yourself, yet you still give such a score. It's truly laughable. Elder Dong Yun waved his hand, and he wasn't polite in retorting at all. He was simply going to fight to the death. Elder Xiao Tian was like an enemy who had killed his father. His words were extremely vicious. This wasn't Elder Dong Yun being vicious. Elder Xiao Tian was the first to be heartless. Then, don't blame him for being heartless. Elder Xiao Tian, is that true? Territory Lord Lu Li looked at them with great interest. Elder Go Huang shook his head. How could they not know what was happening inside the Divine Contract Palace? Their relationship could be said to be extremely chaotic. It was time to properly rectify things. However, they weren't too clear on how to do so. No, it's not like that. I feel that I can at least forge a middle-grade rebirth level weapon. That's why I gave such a score. Elder Xiao Tian's tone became weak. There is a difference of 5 points between a middle-grade rebirth level weapon. This score is really strict. Elder Dong Yun snorted. In his opinion, even if he can forge a middle-grade rebirth level weapon, he can at least get around 7 points, not 5 points. Yi Tianyun shook his head and smiled. Elder Dong Yun is so protective that even he is afraid of himself. Chapter 1148. Elder Dong Yun's sarcasm made Elder Xiao Tian's face look increasingly ugly, but he couldn't refute anything. Everything comes down to one point. They are too rash and overestimate the limited effect of black iron. Although they are elders, it doesn't mean that their eyesight can see the limit every time. They have to refine a little to know their general ability. Yi Tianyun has refined before, and he has the investigating eye, so he doesn't need to try. Just one time is enough, not too much. Elder Dong Yun, the gap between low grade and middle grade is like the difference between clouds and mud, and it is normal for the score to be low. Now, we are all using this as a standard, and we are not biased. Elder Xiao Tian still stubbornly retorted, not backing down to say that he had made a mistake. Since that's the case, then it's about time. Elder Go Huang advised from the side. He knew that there would definitely be no result if they continued to argue, so he could only stand up and persuade them. Since Elder Go Huang has already said so, then I have nothing to say about this. Then you can score well. Elder Dong Yun flung his sleeves and snorted coldly. He still felt very unhappy. Following Elder Xiao Tian and the others, they could only bite the bullet. One by one, they scored lower than the other. In the end, some people could only get 2 points. It was even more miserable and pitiful. Although everyone scored like this, it seemed that the score was really embarrassing. To the outsiders, did they think that this group of people were all trash? The highest was only 5 or 6 points. They did not even get 8 or 9 points. The geniuses of the Divine Construct Palace this time were all crippled geniuses. They knew the reason for this. It was just that they were unwilling to say it out. This batch of participants is very bad. Even the elders, requirements are less than half. That's right. I don't know if it's because their talent is too bad or if their teaching is too bad, but their scores are also low. That's right. They are much worse than before. They haven't been able to refine the results that the elders need. For a time, everyone began to discuss. The discussion of the Spear Palace and the other divine palaces was extremely noisy. They could even hear it. Every word was more unpleasant than the last. It made Elder Xiao Tian and the others feel ashamed. They wanted to dig a hole and dig a hole. However, if he says it out loud, he will kneel and make a round. Soon, the score was finished. Yi Tianyun actually got one of the highest points and was tied with the others because he was the first one to make it. It was even more impressive. Territory Lord Lu Li looked at him more and looked forward to him. Territory Lord Lu Li, the score is finished. Elder Xiao Tian and the others stood in front of Territory Lord Lu Li with their heads lowered. Only Elder Dong Yun raised his head. Elder Dong Yun wasn't ashamed. He knew what was going on, so he naturally wouldn't be afraid to meet Territory Lord Lu Li Lord's gaze. The performance of the participants this time is pretty good. Most of the participants are still able to forge such a good weapon without touching the black iron. It's quite outstanding. Territory Lord Lu Li didn't say that the elders were wrong but instead praised the participants. Although Territory Lord Lu Li wasn't a professional, she still knew what was going on. There was no need to talk about the elders, schemes and intrigues. In his opinion, the performance of the participants was still something to be sure of. That's for sure. Our disciples are all very outstanding. Elder Xiao Tian hurriedly said. If his disciples' performance was bad and Territory Lord Lu Li was unhappy, they would definitely suffer. Of course, I know this. Your performance is good, so that I won't say anything else. Territory Lord Lu Li was indeed capable, but some things couldn't be done too forcefully. Moreover, Elder Go Huang and the others would deal with it, so she didn't have to do everything herself. She had to do everything herself, so why would she need someone of Elder Go Huang's level? Although they were all known as elders, there were only a few who were truly at a higher level. Among them, Elder Go Huang was the oldest. He could call out his full name, and he could also call him Grand Elder. As a Grand Elder, he could be said to be the greatest existence beneath Territory Lord Lu Li. Who dared to refuse? All the elders nodded and didn't say anything. What else could they say now? Then, they all returned to their respective camps and prepared to go to the next round. This round did not open a particularly large distance. If the main score were too low, Yi Tianyun would definitely be able to open a long distance. Yi Tianyun has no complaints, and these things are not things he can control. He just does his assessment on the side. This time, Yi Tianyun Earth Monarch's performance is very good. It can be said that I vented my anger. Elder Dong Yun thought about how Elder Xiao Tian had been repeatedly defeated just now and felt very comfortable in his heart. That's right, Junior Brother has quite a deep understanding of this black iron. It was completed so quickly. I've tried many times, and only then did I barely manage to reach the level of lower grade rebirth level. Heaven Monarch Huo Lian shook his head, but he really wiped away his cold sweat for himself, almost falling behind by a step. That's right, the difficulty is really high. I almost couldn't complete it. Heaven Monarch Yu Long also nodded and wiped his sweat. I almost couldn't rush up. I needed to study it for a long time. I was just lucky, and I just put down the questions I have seen. Otherwise, I really can't get it. Yi Tianyun smiled modestly. Luck is also a type of strength. This is called being knowledgeable. Elder Dong Yun smiled. HMPH, I heard that you came from the mortal realm. No wonder you are so familiar with the materials of the mortal realm. You are also knowledgeable. You only know a bit about low-grade materials. What's so amazing about it? Elder Xiao Tian mocked. Elder Xiao Tian mocked from the side. Their camp was relatively close, so Elder Xiao Tian naturally heard their conversation. He couldn't help but mock them from the side. You're saying that there's a problem with Territory Lord Lu Li. Elder Dong Yun snorted coldly and threw out a single sentence, ruthlessly blocking Elder Xiao Tian's mouth. Elder Xiao Tian was speechless. If he continued, it would be the same as saying that Territory Lord Lu Li was in the wrong. When the time came, he really would have to bear the consequences. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Let's see what the next stage is like. Elder Xiao Tian looked at Yi Tianyun and sneered, I hope that your luck will be so good in every game. Let's meet the materials of the mortal territory. After Elder Xiao Tian left, they all felt extremely unhappy. Little brother, don't mind that guy. You can still lead the next round. Heaven Monarch Huo Lian said. I will. Of course, Yi Tianyun will not pay attention to Elder Xiao Tian. He has never put these people in his eyes. They are all jealous people. Why should he pay attention to them? His current goal is to rush forward 3 times, and the rest is not worth thinking about. Chapter 1149. The first round was finally over. Many people were very interested in the second round. They didn't know what kind of questions Territory Lord Lu Li would continue to issue. In the eyes of the audience, the more abnormal, the better. They just wanted to make the competition a bit more interesting. Especially the first round. A piece of black iron allowed everyone to refine explosions one after another. Normally, it was a very rare thing. However, these geniuses were put in a difficult position here. There were people outside the mountain. There were mountains beyond the hill. They still had a lot of things to learn. Otherwise, they would refine explosions like before. This was based on the fact that the materials were relatively ordinary. If the materials were rare, then refining failure meant a great loss. Therefore, eyesight was especially important. They absolutely could not make a mistake. Otherwise, it would be a failure. If they failed, it would be considered good. However, they were afraid that a serious explosion would directly blow them away. At that time, not only would their weapons be damaged, but they would also need to recuperate for a long time. The first round of the competition has already ended. All the participants were outstanding and did not disappoint my expectations. I believe everyone has seen it. They have failed many times, but they still managed to refine a good weapon in a short period. I believe that if they were given a little more time, they would be able to refine a better grade weapon. In this round, I will test the participants' ability to adapt and their familiarity with materials. Everyone seems to have failed many times. In fact, their performance has already exceeded my expectations. Therefore, everyone should not think that they have failed. In fact, comparatively speaking, they have already performed very well. Territory Lord Lu Li didn't scold him directly but praised him instead. She didn't think that the participants were weak but rather felt that they were pretty good. Then let's begin the second round of the competition. I believe everyone has been waiting for a long time. Territory Lord Lu Li's words caused the hearts of all the participants to jump. The second round was finally about to begin. Many people wanted to win a second round. The difference in scores was too low. If they didn't pull away the points, it would be difficult for them to make it into the top 3. The top 3 were the highest honor, and only then would they be able to enjoy a good reward. The audience perked up and felt that a good show was about to come. Territory Lord Lu Li's questions were often unexpected and interesting. I'll let you refine pills for this round, Territory Lord Lu Li said. Refine pills? The participants were all dumbfounded. They wondered if they had heard wrong. It was actually pill refining. Territory Lord Lu Li, is this stage of pill refining? The first row of participants braced themselves and asked. The other elders wondered if they had heard wrong. They were from the Divine Construct Palace and specialized in forging weapons. Why were they refining pills? Although both of them were refined from flames, the difference was extremely great. They were on a completely different level. That's right. Did Territory Lord Lu Li make a mistake? Elder Lian Guhuang stepped forward and asked. They all wondered if they had heard wrong. The pill refining palace was among the other spectators. They were all dumbfounded when they listened to this question. Was this a question for them? Territory Lord Lu Li soon shook her head. There is no mistake, it is pill refinement. This pill refinement does not require you to refine any high-grade pills. It is to see what grade of pills you can refine. These are the materials. With your abilities, the higher the grade you can refine, the higher the grade. Everything depends on the grade you refine. There was a large pile of materials already prepared on the side. They were basically all medicinal pill from mortal territory rank to medicinal pill material from god territory rank. They were placed here for them to choose from. However, they did not provide any very precious materials. After all, they were all disciples of the Divine Construct Palace, and their ability to refine pills was basically zero. All along, those who could forge basically did not know how to refine pills. Those who knew how to refine pills basically did not know how to refine weapons. What this place said was not that they did not know anything at all but that they only knew a portion and would not be particularly deep. The two were not on the same level. To be able to cultivate one of them to a very good level was already very good. As for cultivating both to an extremely high level, the energy required was extremely shocking. Most of them would find it difficult to achieve this. Of course, this didn't mean that there weren't any. In the end, there were still a few people who could do this. Territory Lord Lu Li wanted to dig out their potential and see if they could produce one or two super geniuses. I'm done for. I don't really know how to refine pills. I know some simple ones, but I don't understand those that are too difficult. Heaven Monarch Yu Long was on the verge of tears. Who knew that such a perverse topic would appear in the past? I do know a little, but not a lot, Huo Lian frowned as well. The others were the same as well, their faces full of worry. They had put all their energy into forging weapons, so how could they have the extra power to refine pills? When they heard this question, they all wondered if they had heard it wrong or if Territory Lord Lu Li had made a mistake. Reality proved that there was no mistake. It was true. Yi Tianyun laughed. What do you mean by not taking the test? Do you actually want to take the refining test? Although his level of refinement is not very high, it is definitely a lot higher than that of all the participants present. That's right, it's a lot higher, leaving them far behind. Territory Lord Lu Li didn't make a mistake. The fault was that she thought she could test the participants hard, but in fact, it gave Yi Tianyun a great chance to surpass her. The upper limit of the second stage is relatively high, with a full score of 20 points. This means that the higher the rank you get, the higher the score. This will increase the distance. As for the score, it will be judged by the elders of Refining Palace. The words of Territory Lord Lu Li were one, and the other elders did not know whether to laugh or cry, but they had no choice. The elders of Refining Palace joined in one after another. Originally, it was a special area of the Divine Construct Palace, but even the Refining Palace joined in. Originally, Refining Palace and Divine Construct Palace were like fire and water. The reason was very simple, that was to rob people. The two were essentially the same. They needed to have a good flame to join. Therefore, with a good flame, they would all request to join. Now that they joined the battle, the elders of the two sides became hostile to each other, both looking at each other unhappily. Originally, the elders of Divine Construct Palace were hostile to each other, but now they suddenly united and looked at the elders of Refining Palace. Tianyun saw this situation and smiled. It seems that Territory Lord Lu Li really has a set of things. Through the topic of foreign enemies, many elders have formed a group. Chapter 1150, Territory Lord Louis Li, we will definitely score well. The elders of the Pill Refining Palace spoke up one after another. However, there weren't many elders coming down. There were only 3 of them. It wasn't that the elders of the Pill Refining Palace were young. It was just that they didn't need that much. The 3 of them would be enough to score. The Divine Construct Palace needed to score all of them for the sake of fairness. The Pill Refining Palace was different. They were completely outsiders. The score was absolutely fair. Thus, there was no need for too many people. Then I'll leave it to the elders of the Pill Refining Palace. Territory Lord Louis Li smiled faintly. The Pill Refining Palace elder turned his head to look at Elder Dong Yun and the others, a cold glint of disdain in his eyes. I didn't expect to give your disciples a score here. Let us see how many Pill Refining Masters have been delayed by artifact forging. The one who spoke was Elder Wu Yuan, the chief elder of the Pill Refining Palace. Although he couldn't compare to Elder Go Huang and the others, he was already very close. According to the current situation, he wasn't far from becoming someone like Elder Go Huang. A refining master who has been delayed by artifact forging. I still think that he is an artifact forging master who has been delayed by pill forging. Elder Dong Yun snorted coldly. He immediately pointed his spirit Elder Wu Yuan and retorted back without any trace of politeness. That's right, some geniuses should have joined the Divine Construct Palace, and artifact forging would have been able to unleash their potential even more. Yet, they are going to the Pill Refining Palace. Elder Xiao Tian also spoke from the side. For a moment, the two of them actually stood on the same side. HMPH, let's first look at the level of the disciples you have taught. They have basically forgotten all about their ability to refine pills, right? Elder Wu Yuan laughed. I wonder if there are any more high-grade medical pills. Perhaps even the higher-grade pills of the mortal realm will not be able to refine them. If we can't refine it, then we can't. We specialize in artifact forging. If you have the ability, then let your disciple refine a rebirth-level weapon. Elder Dong Yun retorted fiercely. Elder Wu Yuan was speechless. This really was impossible to refine. Just like them, they had basically forgotten all about artifact forging. It wasn't advisable to be two-minded. Thus, they had basically forgotten everything they had learned. This is the question that Territory Lord Louis Li has given us. If you have the ability, go find her and discuss it with her. Elder Wu Yuan retorted with a sneer. He suddenly remembered that it was a question given by Territory Lord Louis Li so that he would do it according to this matter. They felt helpless and could only see if their disciples could get a high score. While they bickered, every disciple was ready. They kept thinking about the refining method of pills. At the same time, they were reading the pill recipes provided by the surroundings. It was like they were preparing for an exam. They were temporarily holding Buddha's feet and constantly reading the pill recipes. Only Tianyun was very calm. He didn't need to look at anything. He just waited for the competition to begin. Junior brother, don't you need to check the recipe? Huo Lian asked in confusion. I happen to know a little about alchemy, so I don't need to check the recipe, Tianyun said with a smile. Even if you know a little, you have to be gentle. Otherwise, you will be at a disadvantage. Heaven Monarch Huo Lian hurriedly said. There is no need for that. I still have some confidence. Tianyun smiled and said, and even if you see some pill recipes, it won't help you much. You still need your foundation. Well, then I will go to see it first. Heaven Monarch Huo Lian is not very good at this, so he has to see those pill refining methods. So many geniuses went to see it, but Tianyun didn't look at it. This situation quickly made people notice the problem here. One by one, Tianyun felt a bit of pain. Looks like I have to put on an act. Yi Tianyun shook his head and finally chose to go to the bookshelf to look for some pill recipes. Originally, he didn't want to go to the book, but there were too many people looking at him, so he could only choose to do so. Although he had to be high profile later, at least he didn't want to be like a precious demon beast, and he had been watched all the time. Territory Lord Lu Li didn't give them a long time to watch, at most 3 days. 3 days later, the competition would begin. 3 days was enough for them to read a lot of pill books and understand a lot of content. 3 days it was passed in the blink of an eye. They all returned to where they were. Some directly brought the books over. This wasn't against the rules. Territory Lord Lu Li only gave them 3 days to read. It didn't mean that they wouldn't be able to read them after 3 days. They could read them casually after 3 days, but the time to refine pills was already inside, so it depended on the person's confidence. Since you are mainly focused on refining weapons, you don't have enough experience in refining pills, so that I will give you more time. The time is 1 month. After 1 month, you will only choose the highest grade pill to score. Elder Wu Yuan stood up and announced the rules. After looking at the many participants, he said in a low voice, "Then the competition will officially begin now." As soon as he finished speaking, the participants immediately began to refine the pills. They had to start from all aspects, so that it would take more time. Soon, they were all immersed in refining pills. One of them immediately began to refine pills with great familiarity. It seemed that the method of refining pills was not simple, and it could even be seen that he was quite skilled. To refine a mortal territory 7th grade medicinal pill with ease, there was no difficulty at all. The one who did this was Heaven Monarch Shu Bo. He had not expected that he would still have some ability in alchemy. Unfortunately, I know how to refine pills. Heaven Monarch Shu Bo laughed out loud, extremely happy. It wasn't just him. Other participants also had relatively high grades, but they were all at the mortal territory and not the god territory. This was not their speciality, but it was already quite good to be able to refine such a standard. Most of the participants had bitter expressions on their faces. They felt like they wanted to die. Their refining abilities seemed to be completely useless here. First, they refined the most ordinary profound iron, then, they refined pills. They just wanted to have proper competition in artifact forging. They really didn't know much about the rest. Elder Dong Yun, didn't you say that your disciple is experienced and knowledgeable? What about now? Elder Xiao Tian said smugly from the side, our Heaven Monarch Shu Bo is the one who is truly knowledgeable and has outstanding abilities. Not only is he skilled as a blacksmith, but his pill forging skills are also not bad. I wonder which of the 3 people you sent out is stronger. They haven't been united for a while, and now they are showing off to each other. Elder Dong Yun's heart sank. He knew very well the level of Heaven Monarch Huo Lian and Heaven Monarch Yu Long. He was absolutely not too high in refining. As for Yi Tianyun, he was not very clear. Boy, can you still make a miracle? Elder Dong Yun looked at Yi Tianyun, and his heart was filled with a little expectation. Thank you for listening and supporting the Cultivation audiobook channel. If you'd like to support us, 1 cup of coffee can make a big difference. Please check the PayPal link in the YouTube description.